is violent-free. My appeal to people who may want to come out to make trouble during this election is to stay away from this election, because there will be no place for them to operate in this election. We are aware of negative mobilization by some supporters of some candidates, and we're already monitoring them. We are ready for them for this election. I appeal to them to stay away from this election. Those who want to come out and disrupt the election should just stay away. And I appeal to the electorates to come out en masse and to come and cast their vote during this election.
So we want to assure Nigerians, especially those in those three states for the off-season election, not to have any fear or any doubt that the armed forces and the police and other security agencies will be fully on ground. Every Nigerian, we're sure, is tired of elections with violence. This, we intend to make it different. We want to do things differently. We want, at the end of it, every Nigerian should be proud, first to be a Nigerian, first to understand that elections are now free and fair. We want everybody who wins an election should be happy that he won, and he won very well without any intimidation.
All eyes on INEC, the security agencies and the electorate, as the Bayelsa, Imo and Kogi elections may give an outlook to the Ondo and Edo 2024 off-cycle governorship elections. Mie Ogede, NTA News.
All right, there you have it, and that's how we got to the stage where we are today. But here we are, set to get in with the off-cycle elections in Bayelsa, Imo, and Kogi states. As we said earlier on, our correspondents across these three states are set to bring you details of what's going on. At this point, we'll first go over to Jonathan Omajali in Lokoja. Jonathan, tell us what's on ground right now. What's the atmosphere like?
Yes, a very good morning to you from Lokoja. Of course, the ever-bustling city of Lokoja is unusually calm at the moment. Things began to simmer down a little when the campaigns ended 3 days ago. And yesterday, of course, INEC had to put finishing touches to their preparations. So at the moment, the voters are yet to arrive. I'm standing at one of the polling units, Lokoja Club, polling unit 016. Eventually, I happened to be one of the early birds, and just behind me, an observer that also came very early. But at the moment, the electoral officers are yet to come. The voters too, I'm sure they are preparing, waiting till 8 o'clock. Perhaps in the next 30 minutes, things will begin to come alive. But at the moment, there isn't much except outside where you have just a few vehicular movements and a lot of security presence, soldiers, the police, and several others who are going to ensure that there's a smooth running of the election. So, of course, we are waiting till 8 o'clock so that things can begin to pick up. But, of course, the atmosphere is calm, is peaceful.
Right. You're waiting for 8 o'clock for things to pick up. What would you say about the Election Management Authority that's talking about it, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC officials? You believe in maybe 30 minutes, the voters will begin to troop out. What about the INEC officials? Do you see them positioned, waiting for the voters to come in?
So they are positioned, of course, for the voters to come in. In the build-up to this election, I'm sure you've been following some of the reports. You saw the readiness they've been talking about. Up to yesterday in the night, several of them were at their various points of duty, trying to ensure that everything is fine. So they are ready. From what we've seen and from what they have also said, it's just a matter of time. I'm sure they'll be here and in all the other polling units so that they can begin the assignment for the day.
All right, Jonathan, it's just a little before 7:15 o'clock, and we do expect that in the next 30 minutes, things will begin to hot up where you are. We'll also check in with you and your other colleague much later to find out how things are faring there. So you just stay put. We'll return to you in just a moment. Thanks for giving us that update, Jonathan.
All right.
All right, Jonathan Omajali live in Lokoja. Well, back here in our Abuja studio, I have two gentlemen who are with me right here. Amsfree Ajanaku is project lead, countering disinformation in elections, Center for Democracy and Development. Amsfree, thanks for being here.
Good morning. Thank you.
We are also joined by Atiku Abubakar Isa, a public affairs analyst. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you for having me. Good morning, Nigerians.
Well, gentlemen, the off-season elections are here, and we have them in Bayelsa, Imo, and Kogi. Unfortunately, we're getting some, well, we'll call it unpleasant news coming in from Bayelsa, where a boat mishap has been reported. However, there's been no casualties whatsoever, but we have a statement coming in from there that the Independent National Electoral Commission in Bayelsa has confirmed that a boat carrying election personnel to registration area 17 in southern Ijaw capsized. Now, a statement by the head of voter education in INEC, Wilfred Ifoga, says no life was lost as all the election personnel, numbering 12, and the boat operator were rescued. The statement goes on to say, however, that result sheets, power banks, and luggage containing the personnel effects of staff were lost. Now, the total number of registered voters in the affected registration area, these are figures from INEC, is 5,368, and the number of PVCs collected is 5,311. INEC is making efforts to ensure the conduct of election in the affected area. INEC also reports that its SPO assigned to registration area 06, Osioma in Sagbama local government area, was abducted while waiting to board a boat to Amasoma jetty, and the security agencies have been notified. That's the latest we're getting out of Bayelsa. Of course, when we link up with our correspondents in Bayelsa State, we'll give you more details and we'll have live updates of what's going on. The personnel that has been kidnapped, and of course, details from the incident of the boat mishap. But emphasizing once more that no life was lost. However, some materials were lost, but INEC says it's working to hold elections in that area. Gentlemen, this is the scenario we have this morning, but before we get the details from Bayelsa, let's have your general impression about the off-cycle elections in these three states. Amsfree.
Thank you so much, Cyril. Our impression of the off-cycle election is that as stakeholders, we have analyzed these elections with a lot of optimism, because if we consider the fact that the memories of the 2023 general elections, remain fresh in the minds of Nigerians, and the fact that the elections were litigated up to the Supreme Court, it tells us that our democratic process is experiencing challenges, and the off-cycle election is yet another opportunity to reset our democracy and actually ensure that the power of the people, the power of the electorate to choose their leaders is reaffirmed over and over, especially at a time Nigeria is playing an important role in the sub-region as the bulwark or the champion of democracy. So we want everyone to move forward with a very strong dose of optimism that, notwithstanding the challenges in the process, it is very important that the citizens are able to come out there and exercise their franchise. Having said that, there are apparently a number of issues that have cropped up in the pre-election period. The pockets of violence we have seen. We have also seen a rise in fake news, misinformation within those states. These are issues that we have also appealed to the relevant political actors that they should play their role in de-escalating the tension in those states and ensuring that the whole process is smooth and seamless. But beyond that, we see some positive signals in terms of the synergy between the election management body and the security agencies. The assurances we have gotten in terms of security agencies assuring voters that the electoral space will be very secure for voters to go out there and exercise their franchise is something that is commendable. But we hope that all of those assurances will translate into action on the ground in terms of practically ensuring that when people come out to vote, they feel very safe and they feel very confident to do that. So the impression so far is that it's an optimistic mindset we're taking into the elections, and we're looking forward as we wish the voters in Bayelsa, Imo, and Kogi well in the elections today.
Right, Amsri, I like the bit you talked about disinformation, and you're particularly concerned about that. You're the project lead for countering disinformation in elections, and we see that there's been so much disinformation, misinformation going around, regarding who is contesting, who isn't contesting, in fact, where elections will hold, whether they will hold or not, and these things have been out in the public space. But we're going to get all that, and we'll get into greater detail. But let me bring in Atiku Abubakar Isa at this point, and also put the same question to you. What are your impressions about these off-cycle elections?
I think let me start by commending the security agencies, most especially the President and Commander-in-Chief. This is the first time that the precedence that has been set since the bad precedence since 2015 has been able to be put away. And now we have a situation where what is usually recorded in the past in the eve of election in Kogi and in Imo states in particular, we did not find such bad precedents this time around. That is shooting in the night before election. I monitor situation in Kogi and some parts in Imo. There were no shooting yesterday. Usually at Anyagba in the Kina local government and some places in Ida, you find political thugs shooting to scare away voters. But throughout yesterday, that was not recorded. And some parts in Imo, that was also not recorded. I think the security agencies should be commended for this. What they say, they are living up to what they have said, and we are very happy about the situation. Generally, the elections so far with the arrangement on ground, I think is going to be one of the most credible election we are going to record, and is going to give a good impression about President Bola Tinubu, that he is ready for the task. And we are really very happy, because election should not mean that lives should be lost because of election. Usually there's always apprehension, fear everywhere whenever election is coming, most especially Kogi and Imo State. But this time around, like I have said, it's a different thing, and that's why we are very happy. We want to also say that the security agency should continue to monitor the situation and ensure that this thing, from the beginning till the end, we don't record any life that will be lost during this election.
Well, beyond the security situation and that, what about the Independent National Electoral Commission? A lot of people say now this is one opportunity INEC has to redeem its image. In recent times, the election management body has faced a lot of criticism of its handling of elections. But people see this as an opportunity for INEC to put its stamp of competence, impartiality, and all that. What do you say?
Yes, it's a golden opportunity for INEC. And for this election to be very credible, there should be transmission in real time of election results, because once the results are not transmitted in real time, it gives opportunity to the political actors to be able to manipulate the figures and then write result, which will affect the credibility of the election in the entire process. So I think INEC needs to step up its game, because the last election, many people actually were not happy. So this is an opportunity for them to be able to correct that impression. Whatever is the outcome of this election would determine what people, how people will view INEC and how they will continue to see INEC in the conduct of elections in Nigeria.
All right, thank you very much, Atiku Abubakar Isa. At this point, let's bring in Yenri into the conversation. Yenri.
Many thanks, Cyril, and of course, thank you to your guests for the opening comments there. I have joining me now public affairs analyst Ibrahim Modibo. Many thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Good morning, Nigeria.
And also the former director of voter education and publicity, INEC, Nick Gazang, is also right here. You're welcome.
Thank you for having me.
I'm sure you listened to the guests in, the studio with Cyril, and you heard their comments about, the election, the off-cycle elections. Of course, 3 states we're talking about: Kogi, Imo, and Bayelsa. Just as an opener, I'd like you to tell us what your expectations are, or what you think the expectations of Bayelsans, people in Imo and Kogi would be this morning as they prepare to, head to their polling units to cast their ballot.
Well, from what we saw yesterday, it was very clear that INEC and the security agencies had gotten their acts right. We are aware that these 3 states have a pedigree that is not particularly positive when it comes to peaceful disposition. And the campaigns before now had been framed by negative mobilization and violence. But what we saw from the reports that were received yesterday was that there was calm in all the 3 states, and that as at yesterday evening, all sensitive materials had reached the wards across the 3 states. And so what we expect this morning is to see a translation of the synergy between INEC and the security agencies in terms of early opening of polls. By now we expect that all the INEC staff with the security agencies would have moved or migrated from the registration area centers to the polling units, beginning particularly with far-flung polling units. Polling units that are distant or that have challenging terrains are normally given priority. The staff are normally taken to these polling units in good time so that they will be able to open the polling units in good time.
All right. Many thanks. So before you continue with your explanation about what you think INEC will be doing this morning, I'd like to just find out from Ibrahim Modibo, just because of your opening comment. You said that you're optimistic that INEC and the security agencies have gotten their acts together and they will deliver. Ibrahim Modibo, do you agree with that particular line? That because of course, before every election you get to hear assurances, we're going to do this and all of that. So do you expect something different today, or we're still going to see the kind of results we've seen in our previous elections?
No, I want to adopt and also align myself to the submissions of Mr. Nick Gazang, a fellow compatriot and a journalist of repute that has been in INEC for a very long time, who has studied the terrain and has been there. So I think it's just like an oracle in that place. So by this description, let me state
the reason I came to you is because he's talking because he was once with the INEC. So yes, of course he's going to be positive that everything will work out fine, like they say. But I mean, you are just a Nigerian and you've participated in all the elections so far. So I mean, you think something different is going to happen? We're going to see magic today?
Yes. Let me start. Before I come to your question, let me start by a backgrounder. a backgrounder in the sense that this election is coming exactly 9 months after the last elections in February and March. And by virtue of the 1999 Constitution, Section 178, Subsection 1 and Subsection 2, INEC is today relying on the constitutional provision that say that elections, these election off-season elections are coming 150 days before the expiration and also 30 days, earlier than the distance or 30 days before. So, coming to this point in time, we're seeing these off-season elections in 3 states, Bayelsa, Kogi,
and Imo. Yeah.
We are under no illusion as to the enormity of the challenges ahead in this state. Because honestly and sincerely, if you look at the volatility and also the terrain, the difficulty in terms of geographical terrain of some of the states, and also the actors and non-state actors, it is a source of concern. But however, I'm very optimistic that we are going to have free, fair, and credible elections. Because if you look at the deployments, especially the security, and look at the peace accord that has been signed, by the clergy, the leaders of thought, and also the traditional rulers coming to talk, and also looking at the security deployment. One thing that pleases me so much is the issue of deployment of the security. I've seen on conventional and non-conventional media where we've seen, military vehicles, the police, the NCDC, this civil defense, the road safety. If you look at it, it's very, very impressive. I'm sure that any troublemaker that thinks he will come up on board to make trouble in these elections, I think he's going to find it in a very difficult situation. So I'm expecting, consequently, with all these deployments, I'm expecting to see that free, fair, and credible elections will come up. Because INEC, to me,
has learned from their mistakes.
They've learned from their mistakes. I'm sure today they are going to make deployments of INEC staff and all materials, either sensitive or not, immediately, very early to the spots, because there are only 3 states. So it's not a nationwide something. So they will, put their axes together, and I am expecting, madam, that today is going to be different. INEC will be able to opt their ante, and then we will have a clean, credible, fair, free, and very encouraging elections in Nigeria in the 3 states.
Okay, next, Dezang, I'll come back to you. I had to pause you because I just realized that because you were once with INEC, of course, you want to, be very optimistic that they will do what they have to do.
My optimism is also based on the pressure that INEC is under. The 2023 elections,
general elections,
particularly the presidential election, was controversial, and many Nigerians were happy with INEC because of the glitches that occurred with the INEC result viewing portal IREV, which was touted to add transparency to the election, and there were other challenges too, that of logistics. A lot of violence took place, particularly at the collation centers and so on. Some of these challenges were not INEC's creation, but at the end of the day, the buck stops on INEC's table because it is the chief driver of the electoral process. So, given this situation, there is a lot of pressure on INEC to perform, and this is an opportunity for it to redeem its image. And I believe that any reasonable person, any responsible organization would like to seize this kind of moment by making sure that everything is done in such a fashion as to begin to correct the mistakes that took place in the past and to make up with Nigerians, because the expectations of Nigerians is very high. In fact, I read a very pessimistic report yesterday arising from the pronouncements of a gentleman on Arise Television, saying that INEC will need not less than 2 major elections to redeem itself. Now, some of us had thought that with one general election, delivering superlative elections across one election cycle, INEC would have made up with Nigerians. And this is the beginning of that journey for me. And I believe
We
for
still have
INEC,
more off-cycle elections to go before the next general
yes,
election.
we have Edo, we have Ondo off-cycle governorship elections in 2024.
Yes.
Ahead of 2027. So I believe that there will also subsequently be by-elections arising either from deaths, God forbid, and resignations. But certain things are inevitable in life, so you must prepare for them. So I expect INEC to use all this to now begin to repair the damage that took place and then make it up to Nigerians up to the point that it reached after the conduct of Osun governorship election. Recall that INEC, before or either after the Osun governorship election, was given an award as one of the most improved government organizations in Nigeria.
But that was just one state.
Yes. No. Well, there were other states before.
I mean, that the day of the Osun election, they had to just handle just Osun.
Exactly.
And talking about today's off-cycle election, it's the first time they're handling 3 states.
There had been Anambra before then. There had been Ekiti, off-cycle governorship election before then. And don't forget that the circumstances in which the Anambra state off-cycle governorship election took place was even more challenging than these particular 3 off-cycle government elections, because they took place within a context in which INEC offices were being burnt, INEC staff were being killed. In fact, at a point, not less than 60 or so Hilux vehicles belonging to INEC were burnt. A number of state offices in the southeast were burnt, and so on. And it took the personal intervention of the president, not just the security agencies, to ensure that the climate for the conduct of that election was enhanced as to permit INEC to conduct the election. So the challenges then, as they obtained in November 2022, were even worse than what obtained today. But what we are saying is that given all that, Nigerians felt INEC had done so well, the innovations it had introduced were doing so well, that it deserved encouragement and it was given an award. Suddenly we saw a plunge, from that height, from that Olympian height, we saw a plunge.
It was a great fall.
Yes, to the depth. So it needs to now come up. And I believe that INEC is headed by a professor of history. This is a historic moment, and he must seize that moment. And we want to see it happening today. That must be translated by elections that are very superlative, that are very exquisite, that are very credible, that are very transparent, and that will launch INEC on that path of redemption.
And greatness, of course. Many thanks, Anik Zazanga. But while you were speaking, what crossed my mind is the fact that if INEC is ready to do the needful today, and security agencies, of course, have upped their game to deliver on the field, do you really think that Nigerians, I'm talking about those in these 3 states now, do you really think that they would have that same confidence to be able to come out? Because it's one thing for everything to be in order, another thing for the electorate themselves to believe that what has been said is what's going to play out today, and for them to come out. Because if we have low turnout, it would also mar the election in certain ways. So Ibrahim Modibo, what do you think? Do you think that people in Bayelsa, Imo and Kogi are as optimistic as you are this morning to come out to cast their ballot?
You see, the issue is very fundamental, in the sense that this is a process that deepens our democracy and democratic culture. And therefore, the mass participation of the people cannot be overemphasized. Consequently, I can see that the people in this off-season election in 3 states, they will come up in mass. They will. Okay. I have that confidence because the security situation that has been mapped out, I can tell you that this thing that I've seen so far, and the elections, for these 3 states, if it were to be the normal elections,
the general elections.
Yes, the general elections, focus might not be on one particular area. But this time around, look at the deployments of the military, deployments of the security agencies, all encompassing to all these states. It gives them the latitude to feel, like coming out to cast their votes in the cause of deepening our democracy. Consequently, I think Nigeria is on the threshold of making history in these off-season elections, where I think maybe consequently, if we, in due course, maybe we should be fragmenting the election. I mean, maybe 6 states, you do this one, mobilize, and then have free fair election. Next.
So are you trying to say that INEC doesn't have the capacity to have elections in the whole country at a time?
It seems as if, because of the security challenges and what have you, INEC might not be. But to me, the last general elections, honestly, by my own assessment, is my personal opinion, and I hold dearly to it. I think INEC has done very well.
All right, Ibrahim Odiba, hold your thoughts on that, because many people disagree with that opinion. But I want to find out from Cyril in our other studio. Cyril, your guest, I'm sure, will want to respond to some of the comments already made here.
Right, thank you, Henry. Just a quick one here. We're about now linking up with our correspondent in Yenagoa, and let's see if we can get Doris Akumonye, who is in Yenagoa, to come on live and tell us what's happening in there. Okay, yeah, right. There you are, Doris. Good morning, Doris.
Good morning, Cyril.
Right. Earlier on, we got a signed statement from INEC about the boat mishap. Mercifully, no life was lost, but some election materials were lost. But beyond that, we also got a statement on a staff that was abducted while waiting to board a boat. Now, do you have any updates on the situation there? And fill us in on what's happening in Yenagoa at this time.
The boat mishap happened yesterday, and no life was lost. It was around at Southern Ijaw local government area of the state, where the ad hoc staff were being taken to their location. And no life was lost. They were able to be transferred to another boat where personnel and material arrived at destinations without stress. So far, there is no update yet, but election materials in the 8 local government areas has been distributed. Both sensitive and non-sensitive materials have been distributed to the 8 local governments, and as we speak, accreditation have started in some polling units in the state capital. We will be updating you of the voting process when we get to different locations. But right behind me is the popular Swale market here in the state. As you can see, the people are comfortably waiting for customers. They are not interested in the voting process. They are not bothered. Feelers we got was that they are not interested at all with what is happening in the voting process. They are going about doing their businesses without participating in the national assignment. It's been peaceful here as we arrive Swale, and I have with me a prospective voter who will be proceeding to his polling unit in less than few minutes, Mr. Otobo. Talk to me about your eagerness to vote today.
Yes, this is Swale Market, and I am residing behind Swale Market. I am a prospective voter. You can see here, this is my voting card. In Swale area here, the market area is peaceful. There's no problem, there's no cause for alarm. Right here in the Swale market too, we have a polling unit, but the people have not come with the material, so we are still waiting. Thank you.
Okay, well, we will be updating you on what's happening in town as we move around town. For now, it's been calm and peaceful. We have not gotten any information yet. Thank you, Cyril.
Right, thank you, Doris. But just a moment before you leave, it's an interesting angle that we witness it here. Some people say they're totally uninterested in what's going on. They're not going to. I wish you could have got one of those people to come on camera and just tell us, yes, we know that it's a civic responsibility to vote, but it's also an individual's right to decide to be or not to be part of it. But usually around these parts, we do find that people show some enthusiasm, and commercial activities are always either absent completely or they are at an all-time low during elections. But this is a new thing we're saying in Yenagoa, where people are in their places of business. You say that's a popular market, and they are open for business. They don't want to know about elections.
Before now, people have traveled to their local government, just like yesterday when we visited the riverine jetties. We saw people traveling to the various local government areas. Don't forget, Bayelsa State is 70% riverine, and majority of the voters are from these communities, and they have traveled to be part of the national assignment to exercise their franchise. For now, we are in Yenagoa. We have not really seen much. People are not showing interest. The people we have seen here so far, they are not showing interest, but we have not moved around. But from the riverine communities, it shows that they are politically aware, because yesterday it was a beehive of activity at the jetties. People are willing to exercise their franchise. They were even showing us their PVC, that they are going down to the creeks to do the needful.
Thank you very much, Doris. We'll check in with you much later. Thank you for that update. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.
This is interesting, arms free. You know, there are two angles, there are two ways I'm looking at this. What's the usual practice here in this part is that when it's election day, everything is shut down. Schools are closed, markets are closed, there's restriction of movement. The only thing permitted is movement to the polling stations or the units and things like that. Those restrictions go on. A lot of people have said, when are we going to have elections in this country? Why don't you just walk in, cast your vote, and go about your business? So that's one angle of it. We've seen that kind of a thing happen in Yenagoa. It's as if no elections are taking place. They have their wares out there on display. But you see, the other angle I'm also looking at is to say, look, we're just not interested in what's going on. You can go ahead and hold your elections. We just care about our daily, lives, and we want to sell. Things are hard. We want to put our goods out there for sale.
Yes, Siri, those are very interesting perspectives, and I think we spotlighted some of those issues in our pre-election statement yesterday, where we talked about the challenges in the economy. We cannot run away from the fact that Nigerian citizens, as we speak today, are facing very severe hardships. When you look at the state of the economy, the inflation, you look at food inflation, you look at the consumer price index. What this reminds us is our role as promoters of democracy and defenders of democracy, that we must think about how democracy translates into development in the lives of the people, because that is the only way you can capture the people's attention. If that does not happen, if democracy only sits at the level of abstractions, or abstract freedoms, then the people will become alienated. And we also saw that playing out in the 2023 general elections we are talking about. There was a decline in participation. We cannot run away from that. Right. So if anyone wants to celebrate the gains of democracy, and that same democracy is experiencing decline, then we have to rethink the process and take a second look and reevaluate the process. That's one point. The other very critical point, I think we need to note, that the kind of behavior you saw there, where people are not interested, is also driven by certain narratives. And that is why at our center, we are working seriously on countering disinformation, because people would are being fed with information at the local level that your votes will not count. In fact, one of the fact checks we're doing after this morning, and even INEC released a statement on social media, where a narrative was being pushed around that some of the BVAS machines, the pass codes were not going to be given to the people, and their votes were not going to count. So these are existential problems. There are problems in the electoral process that we have to keep engaging as we go on.
All right. Well, at this point, let's go over to Imo State and Owerri precisely. And there, let's link up with Nnamdi Odiyipo, who's right there. Nnamdi, good morning. Good to see you.
Good morning. Good to see you too. Both
right.
of you.
Up early, bright and chirpy as well. So tell us what's happening in Owerri.
Early, we woke up, and we actually did wake up to a very calm and peaceful Owerri. But of course, we've not heard. We've been getting feelers from other parts and axes of the state, and it's been the reports have been quite impressive as well, of peace, calm, and people getting set for today's exercise. Cyril, we do expect that when the polls open, that people would go about the business of today, which is voting proper. But Cyril, let me just bring you up to speed as to what I have observed this morning as far as it concerns the polls opening. I have actually been to a couple of places within the metropolis here in Owerri. I have been to Area H, actually, and I'm currently now at ICC, where was also supposed to have a polling unit. But Cyril, let me give you a sense of what it looks like right now. So I'll just move off the shot and ask the cameraman to give you. Okay, so what you're seeing is an expanse of empty space. This is supposed to be a polling unit in ICC. You'll probably have noticed, or definitely have noticed, the presence of security officers and a couple of eligible voters sitting somewhere to my far left, also waiting for INEC officials to arrive. This is something I have noticed, or that I did notice, in the 3 places that I've gone to this morning within the metropolis. And it does say something. Is this what we will probably see? Maybe not. But this was part of the concerns expressed by voters here in Imo State yesterday when we spoke to a number of them. They talked about early arrival of materials. So if this is happening, perhaps INEC may need to look into this. We're drawing INEC's attention to the fact that materials and officials are yet to arrive at polling units in Owerri. We don't have details. We're waiting for feelers from other parts of Imo State, just so this exercise can begin in earnest, Cyril. But as to how the ambience is, as to how the Owerri and other parts of Imo States are, the reports we're getting is that things are calm and people are just waiting for this exercise to begin in earnest, Cyril.
Nnamdi, I'm looking at where you've just shown us now. This is the capital of Imo State, where you'd expect that things would be on time. It's just about 8 or so minutes to 8 o'clock, and from what you've just shown us, officials are yet to arrive. So if this is happening in the state capital, where you do expect that movement around and transportation will be a lot easier, what do you want to say about remote areas in the state? Now, this should be part of the concerns, but every time when we go on air, when we talk to officials with regard to upcoming elections, we always get the assurances that the materials, men and materials will be on location in good time. We always get these assurances. But so many times on election day, it isn't what it is.
In the build-up to the elections, we raised concerns about access to far-flung communities and how much so INEC will be proactive in preparing for communities like that. Of course, Imo State has far to reach terrains as well and communities, and we would have hoped or we would have expected that INEC would make preparations for such communities. But then you referenced Owerri, which of course is the state's capital, and one would ordinarily expect that it should be the model for INEC in terms of deployment of materials, in terms of arrival of staff, and and again, Cyril, and I'll quickly say this, I just went to just 3 places. Maybe I was unfortunate, and maybe it was the places that I went to. But come to think of it, ICC is in the center of Owerri. The government house is not so far from here. The area I would otherwise describe as the GRA of Owerri is not so far from here. And it's like, it's a nexus between the affluence parts of Owerri and the high density parts of the city, and so it's kind of strategic if you were to ask me, and yet we're seeing this happen. So I would just like to call on INEC to expedite action and perhaps monitor these things. We did get reports earlier that deployments of materials had since happened yesterday to local government areas, registration areas. Let's see these materials arrive in time. But again, on a scale of 1 to 10, and remember, if we were to place in terms of ratio, I just went to 3 places. It may not speak much, may not be that significant, but of course, it is something we cannot discountenance, Cyril.
That's okay, but Nnamdi, just before you go, earlier we spoke with Doris in Bayelsa, in Yenagoa, and we got out some interesting facts from her, that there are people around who showed complete lack of interest in what was going on about the elections. They were not bothered at all. They were more bothered about displaying their wares and selling their goods. Have you, moving around the way, come across such people, some people who would say to you, look, we don't want to know what's going on. We just want to go ahead with our daily bread business and not bother ourselves about politicians and elections. Have you come across any such people?
Night I went to have a quick shave, not to cut off my beard, I wouldn't do that, mind you, but I just thought to have a trim, and so I engaged the barber, and in our conversation I asked him how early he intends to go out to vote, and he was like, vote what? And I was kind of taken aback. I was talking to someone that I thought I just estimated should be perhaps in his late 20s, early 30s, and I thought he should be interested in this exercise. And of course, knowing what we know about the breakdown of the demographics, young persons, youths about his age bracket, are the highest, or have the bulk of registered voters here in Imo State. So I thought I was probably speaking to someone that would love to be part of this exercise. So that explains my surprise for when he said he would not be part of this exercise. So I pushed further, I pressed further and asked why. What's your reason for not wanting to be part of this? And then he said, look, I am indifferent. It doesn't matter who ever becomes governor at the end of the day. What I'm interested in is what the person has to offer when he emerges. So I said, so, okay, I'll give you that, I'll grant you that, but how do you hold such a person responsible for whatever he does or does not do when he eventually emerges as winner or as governor? And then he was like, look, mister, I don't know you, but look, I do not want to go expose myself to anything out there. I'll leave the politicians or the politics for the politicians. I said, no, we're all political animals. You should be part of this. You should want to be part of this because they are responsible to you. You should be able to ask questions, but you don't even have a right to ask questions when you're not originally part of the process. And Cyril, of course, we've come across persons like that. And I do not have a specific number or cannot put that in percentage or to say, but then, of course, there will be people like that, persons who are indifferent. There'll also be people who are eager to be part of this exercise. And we're using this opportunity to call on persons eager to begin to go out. We're talking to people still sitting on the fence. Please make up your mind. You need to be part of this. Come out, exercise your franchise, be part of the process, vote, and hold your leaders accountable. Cyril.
Right, thank you very much, Nnamdi. we'll check in much later. By then, hopefully, things would have started happening around where you are in other parts of Imo State. But thank you for the updates, Nnamdi, and see you soon.
Thank you, Cyril. Thank you.
Right, so gentlemen, the issues are mounting now. But before we went on to Nnamdi, we saw the situation in Bayelsa. But Nnamdi has now brought us up to date. And from where he is, and well, he's emphasized it's just about 3 locations. That may not be a true reflection of what's happening in other parts of the state. But we're just using that, referencing that point and saying, look, this is the state capital. And we expect that movement of materials would be on time in the state capital. If we have challenges with far-flung places, then that's understandable. But within the city center, it's like there's no excuse.
Yes, there should be no excuse. But in my own opinion, there are 2 reasons for that. One, because the voters do not have confidence in the leadership of the state and in the country at large. Because they feel that whoever emerges will not have the interest of the people at heart. And the second reason is from the INEC side. It is the scientific way of rigging election, where in some places, for example, any candidate which the INEC, if they are biased, they want to support, where a candidate has a lot of supporters, they delay in taking materials to those places so that a lot of people will be disenfranchised and will not be able to vote for the candidate of their choice. It is a way of INEC supporting a candidate to win an election by disenfranchising those who are your core supporters would not get the materials to vote on time, where the person they want to win the election, they'll take the materials to those places early and ensure that these people vote on time.
Yeah, but
so INEC
officials... But INEC has stated over and over again that it has no candidates in any of the elections. Not this, not in any elections. Their business is to conduct the elections in a free, fair, and credible manner. And that's it.
It's not what INEC says, but their actions. For example, many people have not taken the security agencies serious in the past. But this election, people have taken them very seriously because not just what they say, they have implemented what they have been saying. And people have been calling to say that, oh, no, you can travel home to vote because the army are everywhere. Okay. They are doing their job. So not what INEC says. Led by their action, we'll know whether they are serious or they mean what they say.
All right, we'll return to that now. But at the moment, let's go over again to another of our correspondents in Kogi State. Solomon Aidei joins us from Okene.
At a local government area primary school at Agasa, at the center of Okene, Kogi Central. And it's a registration area. And we have 5 wards under this registration area. And where I am standing now, we have 3 polling units. Is polling unit 08, polling unit 09, and polling unit 10. Electoral materials, earlier in the day, electoral materials were moved from here by INEC officials accompanied by police officers to various polling units under this registration area. I have with me Zubair Abul Kadri. He is the presiding officer of Unit 09. Can you please tell us precisely what is happening right now?
Yes, sir. As you can see, the environment, we are already in the process, and all the materials, both the sensitive and non-sensitive, arrive here early. And according to the instruction given to us, is the election should commence by 8:30. And you can see we are already, and even the voters, the turnout was very appreciated. They are even already here, even before 8, sorry. So they are already here. We are just waiting for the 8:30 for the 8:30 for us to commence the exercise.
Thank you very much. And behind me are women. Women, we know, determines what happened in an election. And of course, they are already on ground to do accreditation and possibly start voting by 8:30. Surprisingly, I have somebody who is here with me. He came all the way from the United States of America to come and exercise his franchise. And his name is Dr. Abdul Fattah Usman, all the way from United States of America. Okay. Yes. What are your expectations going into this election?
Yeah, we thank God that the date has been fixed, and alhamdulillah that the date has come to pass today. Everything seems to be very peaceful so far, so good. And my expectation today is to ensure that we have free, fair, and credible election today.
All the way from America?
No,
how?
No, point of correction.
Okay, all the way from United Kingdom.
Yeah, sure.
So, what motivation do you get to travel this far because of this election?
Yeah, we know a lot has been happening in Kogi State precisely, and we believe in the current administration of GYB, and it's time to change over government again. And those of us outside there, as we all know, we are following the event and what is happening, and we want continuity of administration of what is going on at the moment now. So we are all hoping, staying outside, that Kogi State will be peaceful, during this electoral process. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The security operatives are on ground. Everything is going on peacefully. There are no challenges, and we hope that everything will work out fine at the end of the day. Back to you in the studio.
Right, thank you, Solomon, for that update from Okene. Thank you very much. Hopefully we'll get more reports from Kogi State as we go on, especially when voting actually commences. But from the update Solomon gave us there, materials have arrived and all is set for commencement of voting. That should be at about 8:30 in just under 25 minutes from now. So we're back here in the studio, and Yenri, well, you've followed us so far, and you've heard the issues that have been raised from Bayelsa to Imo and Kogi. I'm sure Nick, who's with you there, will particularly want to comment on late arrival of voting materials. And Madibo himself, I'm sure, would want to say a thing or two about those who are unconcerned. Elections or no elections, life must go on. Yeri.
Cyril, interestingly, before you joined Doris in Bayelsa and, of course, Unamdi in Owerri, we're just talking right here about, participation of the voters, and if we're going to see low turnout, and if, confidence has been restored on the part of the voters now on the electoral body, and of course security agencies, in ensuring that this election goes smoothly. So I'll just quickly go back to them, like you have said, and I'm sure Nick wants to respond, because before we started going to the different states where we're having elections, I asked for your expectations, and you said you were hopeful that INEC would want to redeem its image and want to do the needful, but it's too early to draw conclusions. But from what we have seen, what do you think is going on?
It's really concerning. The footages we've seen may not be fully representative of what is happening entirely in Imo and Bayelsa, but they also speak eloquently to the fact that people are apathetic, people may have been disappointed in the past, particularly with the conduct of the 2023 general elections. And it also supports the fact that progressively we have seen a decline in the passion people used to have for elections. From 1999 to this moment, we have seen a reduction, considerable reduction in terms of voter turnout. And what we have seen, particularly in Bayelsa, where people are very indifferent, we would have expected that on a day like this, there will even be no movement, not to think of going to the market. But there we are, People are in the market, they are selling their wares, they are indifferent to even the reporter who is filing a report about what is happening. And then what's happening in Owerri is even more concerning in the sense that even though the security agencies are there, the INEC personnel had not turned up. And from what I know before now, the Owerri zone, senatorial zone, is supposed to be the most peaceful of all the 3 senatorial zones in Imo State. So if we're having this kind of development in Owerri, the headquarters of Imo State, then you can imagine what is happening in the hinterland. But with regard to Kogi, one is not surprised at the turnout because we know that the politics of Kogi is driven by identity politics.
True.
The 3 major ethnic groups or zones have candidates, and voters are likely to turn up to support their respective candidates, and that is what seems to be panning out. So we are likely to see more turnout in Kogi than in Imo and in Bayelsa.
And that leads me to my next question. Ibrahim Modibo, ethnic politics. In the general elections, that was one factor that a lot of people were concerned about, that, it would not lead us to the right place as far as our electoral process is concerned. And, in deciding who leads us, having to talk about ethnicity now. Like Nick just mentioned, in Kogi, of course, we already said that off camera, talking about, yes, it's ethnic politics that is driving people in that particular state. Do you think that's the way to go? Is it that people should come out to vote and exercise their franchise because, somebody from their ethnic group or somebody from their religion is contesting? Is that really a good formation or a good drive for our electoral process?
You see, whether we like it or not, Madam, politics is all about interest. And therefore, this interest presupposes that people will be sentimentally attached to one issue or the other. And identity politics seems to be one of the channels of reaching out. In any democratic setup, using any democratic parameter, you find out that the people's interest comes paramount. In that, like Kogi, the political identity cannot be erased because they strongly believe that, look, the more this power comes to us, the more we get attention of government attention, and also the more we get dividends of democracy, and also the more we get involved in the system. Now,
irrespective of competence?
Well, competence could be there because there's nowhere in this country today, even in local government, that you don't find competent people. Because almost every village today you have a university graduate or somebody that must have gone through the rudiments of education system that could be able to deliver. There's no local government that you can't find. Therefore, the issue of competency is there. People will get. But before we go there, I want to observe. When I saw the issue of Bayelsa, I was thinking the reporter would have first gone to the polling station instead of going to that market. Because that market does not really portray how the elections are going to be conducted.
But it tells us the mood of the city.
No, you see, the most important thing today, as it is today, is to see the polling units, how the election, because we are not talking about markets, we are talking about elections.
Of course, we're going to get reports from the polling units. But you see, that marketplace is strategic at this point in time because we're supposed to be seeing people on their way to polling units and then having the market that full and people, I'm sure some people don't even know they're having elections. I'm sure in that particular state from the pictures that we saw.
So you see,
it's not.
I'm an incurable optimist. That look, it's too early. It's just about 12 minutes after 8, and election is supposed to start at least by 8:30. It's still early. Maybe these people have not been able to wake up. Maybe they are preparing to come for the elections, and therefore, to me, I strongly believe that it's too early to start making analysis on how this election is going to be conducted. Let us wait. We are here. We'll be here all to 10, 12. Let's wait and see what the electoral process is going to look like. So to me, in terms of identity politics, you see, Imo, there's homogeneity in terms of identity, and also Bayelsa. So in the two states, Bayelsa, almost the whole contestants are all Ijo. And therefore, there's no problem in terms of identity politics. The only problem there is the issue of who gets what, when, where, and how. Just using the political parties to just capture power. Now, if you look at the issue of Imo, there's nothing like identity politics. The only issue, they're all Igbos. And therefore, there's nothing like identity politics in that place. But the major and fundamental issue is the issue of political parties, and also the issue of seeing that, you know, either a governor that is looking for second time gets the second time ticket, or they find a change. And therefore, to me, by today, I was expecting in all the states, especially Imo and Bayelsa, these are two states, Imo and Kogi. Is it? Imo and Bayelsa. In Imo and Bayelsa, the two governors are looking for second term. And therefore, it presupposes that there should have been an aggregation of thought and also campaigns that could garner, you know, the people's decision to move in and go and vote. But
all right. Thank you so much, Modibo. I would hold you there.
Okay.
I apologize. We need to join Cyril now. Okay. I'm sure that he wants to respond, and probably his guests there have something to say about what you've said so far.
Okay.
Yeah, actually, it's another of link-ups with our correspondents across the states. We're returning to Solomon Aidei in Kogi. He has some update for us at this time. Solomon, can we get you up and running and tell us what's been happening? It's been a few minutes since we last spoke with you. Okay, so now it's not Solomon we're going to, it's Jonathan. Okay, let's read on to Jonathan. Right, okay. Right, back to Lokoja. Give us an update.
Jonathan, of course. This is SPEB Open Space Polling Unit 017. A few minutes ago when I spoke with you, I told you that in no time things will begin to pick up. And of course, that is what we are experiencing here. The INEC officials came about 30 minutes ago. They're about set up. I'm sure they are ready for the voters. Just behind me, you can see some of the voters just trying to check their names and be sure that this is their polling unit. So, of course, by 8:30, we are going to commence accreditation and voting. But I noticed very interestingly that the elderly ones seem more enthusiastic about this exercise. They came quite early. Some of them have gone. I'm sure they will still come back. But I have one of the early birds here who want to talk to us. Asa, could you just come up here? Yes, sir. You came quite early. Just look at the camera. Tell us, how enthusiastic are you about this election?
I'm very much ready. And I'm sure everybody's ready for these elections. You can see people around, people are checking their name. And the annex people are getting set for the preparation for the elections. The civil defense, they are there on the ground. That means the military personnel, they are all on ground. Everywhere is calm, there's no problem, there's no tension. We are all ready.
Okay, yeah. You are ready. Are you're telling us that you are impressed with what you've seen on ground?
Yes, I'm impressed with what's going on now. There's no problem. Everything is in order.
Okay, thank you. Just your name very quickly.
My name is Agunvededo.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay, yes, of course, just like you said, it's calm, it's peaceful, and we expect that it will continue like this until the end of the day. So in a couple of minutes from now, accreditation and voting will start. We hope to bring you more updates when that begins.
Right. Thank you, Jonathan. And at some point, we'll come back and find out how voting is going. Thanks for the update. Yenre and her guest now. And also have at the back of your mind something that Jonathan said, that senior citizens, it would seem that they're taking this much more seriously than the younger people. So there you go, Yenre.
Cyril, while we joined Solomon there in Kogi to give us that update, my guests here we're trying to feel at home, you know, the NTA way, making sure that our guests are comfortable, and we hope that everything is also, you know, good for our guest right there in your studio. So Ibrahim, I'll get back to you because I think we were, trying to hear from you what you thought about, some of the reports that are coming. So maybe you just continue in your thoughts.
Yes. So as I was saying, you see, we must appreciate the demands and dynamics of operational democracy, which presupposes that, look, elections must be an avenue for us to choose our leaders. And this avenue, we must have mass participation in order to encourage democracy to be deepened. Because what is the option for democracy? We don't want that option. And therefore, we want democracy to be deepened so that there will be mass participation of people within the electoral processes. For us to, I think it is, to a large extent, I don't see a kind of nationalism or patriotism, so to say, for people to hold back or stay at home and refuse to go and participate. Whatever it is, we must come out and participate. Because when I saw this in Owerri, looking at the homogeneity of the people, these people are the same, if the young people or they feel aggrieved of the last elections, this is the time for them to come out and then effect a change or adopt what the governor has been able to do. If they feel he has done well, fine. But for them to hold back their punches, to feel that they don't want to participate because of what has happened 9 months ago, I think it's a great disservice to this country. Therefore, we must encourage. As it is now, I am very, very optimistic that the elections are going to be free, fair, and credible, and people will come out because it's still early. As I've said, let us wait a bit and see how the journey goes. With time, we'll be able to appreciate, the issues at stake, and also to look at the elections from a wider perspective rather than us narrowing it as it is now, showing that people are not coming out. I think it's too early to analyze on that. My take.
Okay, Nick, I'm sure you want to respond because, from your comments.
Like I said earlier, this may not be representative of the entire picture, but it's concerning. And even more concerning is the fact that these pictures also instruct us. They instruct particularly the political class of the need, to deliver good governance to the people. If people feel at the end of the day that elections do not translate into improvement in their lives, they don't put a foot on the table. You don't see roads constructed. You don't see decent hospitals and schools. Then they are not incentivized to vote. And then if people also have doubts about the process, about the integrity of the process or its transparency, then they feel that what they are doing is something in futility. So we need to avert ourselves of the lessons that these pictures are teaching us. And we should take these lessons seriously.
Talking
as far
about
as I'm
lessons, do you really think that we are learning? I mean, 1999, it's been a long time.
I don't, in fact, I'll be very quick to tell you that we don't seem to have learned, because in there's a study that I read which progressively shows a decline also in the delivery of good governance to Nigerians from 1999 to date. In fact, the best government that ever performed since democratization in 1999 is that of Olusegun Obasanjo. And I have said it severally, that part of what that government did, and one of the strategies that they adopted, was to link the democracy project with the delivery of good governance. And I mentioned it here yesterday that we embarked on a media tour to take a look at what the governors did that time. And then we scored them, and then that also encouraged rivalry between these governors, or amongst them, to deliver good governance to Nigerians, knowing that at the end of the day, somebody was going to grade them, somebody was going to appreciate them.
But Nick, come to think of it, it's about delivering good governance, like you have said. Yes, we agree. But if the electoral process is is free,
No, I'm not
is
looking
fair,
at-
is credible.
Yes.
Don't you think that even when the governance is not good, people will still be optimistic to come out so they can change
Yes,
it?
they are linked.
So I think that
they are linked.
it's both ways now.
Good governance and transparent elections must work in lockstep. They must work together. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm not isolating one from the other. The two have to work together. People must believe that their votes will count. And you know, elections
And if
help
votes
us to
count,
recruit.
there's the likelihood that governance would also be good.
Exactly.
Because you know that you can-
Elections allow us to recruit leaders. And we saw in the last dispensation that certain persons who thought that they were entitled to occupy certain positions were rejected by voters. So these are the kinds of things we want to see. You know, a process in which the results, the outcome, you know, reflect the intentment of the voter. Once that happens, then there will be no issues. People will be encouraged to come out. But when the outcome does not reflect the intentment of the voter, then there will be a very big gap between what we have said we are going to do and what is translating on the ground. And we are now seeing the consequences of some of these failures. And it is very instructive. You know, nothing is more poignant, nothing is more painful than what we have seen. A situation where people are completely indifferent because governance has been indifferent to their plights. Some of them have queued up, they have voted, and I interviewed a lot of electoral officers in the aftermath of the 2023 general elections. And what I learned from their candid opinions, there are things that you cannot even see on air. So it tells us that we need to go back and really work hard and make sure that our elections are not only transparent, but seen to be transparent. And I've always said INEC has certain core values. And core values that, you know, encompass or encapsulate transparency, impartiality, honesty, integrity. So the process has to be replete with these core values. And what we say, what we tout, what we advertise should be seen, should be translated in the field. If we say that polling units should open at 8:30 and we took the requisite steps to make sure that this is possible, then they should open at 8:30. We saw yesterday that the sensitive materials moved from the local governments to the registration area centers and to the super racks. So we expected that by this morning at dawn, the annex staff, regular and ad hoc, would have moved from those super racks and the registration area centers to the polling units timeously, and then open the polling units in good time for voters to vote. But we have seen, like in Owerri, the annex staff are not even there. Even if the voters do not turn up, at least the annex staff should be there. They should come and do the needful by opening the polls and waiting for the voters.
Okay, thank you so much, Nick. Ibrahim, yes, you are itching to respond. You are the most optimistic one here about the whole process.
Oh, yes.
And I like the blend. So now you're saying 9 months is enough for the electorate to do away with their fears, their disappointments, their discouragements, their whatever it is that they felt during the general elections and come out and vote. Don't you think 9 months is also enough for the electoral body to also get its act right? That as at this morning, although yes, we're hoping to see more reports from our reporters on the field, you know, I mean, who says by 8:25 we shouldn't have things, you know, being set up and all of that? So, but I think before you respond, because yes, I know that you have so much to say about that. I'd like the guest in the studio where Cyril is, you know, to respond to you know, that particular question about you know, 9 months away from the general elections. I mean, we're supposed to see a brilliant performance this morning, considering the fact that we have just 3 states having elections this morning. And then for the electorate, do you think 9 months is enough for them to forget about some of the disappointments and you know, all the different discouragements they felt during the general elections?
Well, I guess you could say that again. And how much time is adequate for you to assess what's on ground with a view to determining in what direction you should go next? But we'll come to that. At this point in time, we are being joined by a public policy analyst. Is with us in our Owerri studio. Professor Valin Obinna is in Owerri studio, along with Doris Akumonye. Professor Valin Obinna is a public policy analyst, and he, along with Doris, will be bringing us another perspective to this off-cycle election with regard to Imo State. So let's link up with them in Owerri.
Hey, no, UMPADEC.
All right, as we're perfecting the links with our correspondent, Doris, as well as Professor Valin Obinna, a public policy analyst who's in our Owerri studio. See you, there you are. Good morning, Prof. Right away, we'll just go straight to you to ask what your impressions are about what's on ground so far.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate being here. It is an honor and a privilege to be fished out from my domestic environment to come to the studio, because it is something very important, a national assignment, even though it looks like it is happening in a local setting of Imo State. Very important among the three states of Bayelsa and Kogi for Imo State to be there to decide along with the rest this off-cycle situation. And so it's very important in the sense that they have been focused, brought out 3 of them among the 36 for whatever must have happened to make it off-season, off-cycle, because of some other political developments. However, today, 11/11 is a very unique day, symbolic, in the sense that where we are in Imo State, we are looking forward to something very important as the governor remaining or another person taking over. So it's very, very important for people to take their decision by themselves, to say, yes, we want our governor to continue, or no, we want another. So this is where we are, and we have 27 local governments in Imo State. That's quite big compared to Bayelsa that has 8, and Kogi that has about much less too. But each of them has its own peculiarities, like we know. So Imo State is where we have a concentration of very educated people, intellectuals, people who are very enlightened in every sense. And I'm here representing those who may claim to have some knowledge, and as an observer, trying to be objective, impartial, even though as a person I can be political. But definitely on this occasion, my business is to say it the way it is, and it should be that we want peace, we want the electoral process to succeed, so that those who at the end will make it, they will say, yes, we made it in good time, and we did it in the right place. And those who lose will say, yes, it happened fairly, and so they can congratulate the winner. This is what we're looking forward to. It is not always easy. In theory, yes, it may be, but in the field, we have so many situations that come around to make it look difficult for people to accept that reality, that only one person will win at the end of the day. Everybody thinks he's going to win. I think we have about 18 candidates, and each of them thinks he's going to be the governor, and the governor that is there also thinks he's entitled to be there. But it's the people, the franchise, that ordinarily decides what happens. And that is what I'm hoping, even though we have observed from our correspondent here that it is a bit early to take a decision about whether the people are coming out or not, or whether INEC has decided to, come out to the field. But we are looking forward to a situation where there will be no suspicion because of delays. People begin to interpret that it's possible that this is what happened. We want to give the benefit of doubt to INEC for whatever has happened. And that's the thinking of some of the voters, who say they want to try it again. And I think there are some of them who are determined to fight that the governor should be there, and those who are determined to remove him. So this is what democracy should be and what it's about. And we are watching from the studio where I am. We are monitoring to see that it is happening in a way that should reflect the wish and will of the people. So this is the prayer we are having. Interestingly, the weather is supporting us. Yesterday, it threatened as if it was going to rain, but today, everything is in order.
Let me ask you this, Prof. Given the peculiarities of Imo, it's been a hotbed, we all know that. How would you say the people have responded to this opportunity to go out and then decide who governs the state for the next 4 years? And how intense would you say the issues that dominated the campaigns in the build-up to this was?
It's quite an interesting scenario in Imo State. So many issues have come up. We know that from all perspectives, there have been various challenges ranging from security or insecurity, unknown situations, ranging from our environment where we look like people who are embroiled in a kind of whether we are defining our stake in the nation, if you know what I mean. The idea of whether some people think that we belong to the country from where we are, and whether even today some people say we should not even come out to go and vote for various reasons. Those who have genuine reasons may also be suggesting that it is not worth it, that the results are already written. And some are thinking that what INEC has performed recently did not encourage them. And so some of them may not have want to come out today. But I know that during the campaigns, especially from those who are seeking to enter the government house, they have latched on the security situation and so many other uncertainties around the state. And more recently, what happened in terms of the labor leader came into a serious focus to the extent that even maybe we may have been noticed, I think, in the international community that Imo State was locked out, a flight that people were not allowed to come in. And even in Abuja, there was a reflection of it just because of the situation in Imo State. So some people have tried to use that to gauge the situation, to say this is what has been happening and happening very close to elections. So just like you asked, the electoral, campaigns have not been that easy. It's been intense. Those who want to take over have really, tried to use it. The governor and his team have tried to defend themselves that it is not their fault and that they have done their best. And people will want to say, yes, it is either you have done your best and we want to keep you, or we're not satisfied. So it is the ballot box that should decide it at all costs.
Thank you very much, Professor Valin Obinna, public policy analyst in our Owerri studio. We'll return to you at some point in this broadcast, but just to mention, as you said, the incident involving the president of the Nigerian Labour Congress, even as we speak, is under investigation. You will recall that the Inspector General of Police has ordered a thorough investigation to ascertain the true facts of what happened to Comrade Joe Ajeru, president of the Nigerian Labour Congress in Owerri. Thanks for your views. We'll return to you at some point in time. At this time, we will now get back Doris Akumoye. We had wanted to put her right on screen while we were speaking with Professor Obina because we felt she had a quick update at that point in time. But we can return to Doris Akumoye now in Yenagoa and get a further update from her. Doris, you're on.
We are here at Onpadek in Amarata. Onpadek Primary School in Amarata, Unit 17. This polling unit is always filled with people. It's a popular polling unit here in Yenagoa. As you can see, the people are patiently waiting. The process has just started and we have 750 registered voters here in this unit. It's been peaceful and the process has just started. And I have with me here a voter.
Okay, Atonye. My name is Patience Atonye. I'm here to vote for the gubernatorial election right now, holding here. The crowd is coming out massively and people are ready to be accredited to start casting their vote. And it's peacefully here. So we expect to have a peaceful election today for this governorship election. And we pray everything goes well.
Okay, she's expectant that seriously her votes will count. We also have security personnel here who are here to ensure that everything goes on smoothly. It's over to you, to the studio.
Right, thank you very much, Doris. And that's one voter there that is really interested in what's happening. It's a far cry from the ones who would rather face other matters. But thanks for giving us that update, Doris. We'll return to you at some point in time to say it. Already the process has begun, and we expect that the same can be said of the other states, Kogi and Imo. And shortly, as we link up with our various correspondents in on location, we'll get to see that voting has commenced. And that signifies that indeed the off-cycle elections in the states of Bayelsa, Imo, and Kogi are on in earnest. Well, we're back here in the studio, and Amsfree Ajanaku is still here with me, so also Atiku Abubakar Isa. From the updates we've received so far, how do you think this process is progressing?
For my own part, I think we should, always have, an element of optimism in whatever analysis we make, and that optimism is really to also encourage voters to come out there and do what they need to do in terms of participating in the process. But I think there's a fundamental issue that came up, during the discussion, which also signposts, some of the issues that we have seen from the correspondent reports, which is the question of is 9 months enough for Nigerians to really get over some of the challenges that dogged the 2023 electoral process, and can they just move on? After the elections, part of our recommendation at CDD was the need for a comprehensive audit of the elections, 2023 elections, with a view to learning the key lessons and then starting the process of implementing very important reforms that would not only build confidence, but position our electoral process excuse me, on a pedestal that would make people to be more confident and all of that. But it will appear that that whole process of re-evaluation has not actually taken place. So it is not a question of time. Whether you talk about 9 months, whether you talk about the next 2 years, if we do not sit down as a people, sit down as stakeholders to do that comprehensive mapping and documentations of the key lessons learned from the elections, what went wrong, what worked well, what did not work well, we still have to do that, because it will appear that some of those mistakes from that election we are still repeating. And I would point, for example, to the appointment of the resident electoral commissioners. There have been concerns that, partisan partisan people are being appointed into such a sensitive position. And then I think another critical issue that also speaks to the question of whether there's apathy or no apathy, or whether citizens are coming out well enough in the numbers that they should, is the question of what narrative are the people getting? What are the ideas being fed into the public space that the people perceive and then take those ideas to make their decisions? One of such issue now is the question of electronic transmission of results. The way that is narrated across the board, even from public affairs analysts, people tend to get the wrong impression that electronic transmission of results is apparently the only pathway for result. They forget that the Electoral Act provides for even the collation process itself. Like in the governorship election, the results are going to move from the registration areas / the wards to the local government areas and to ultimately to the state collation offices. But when citizens get the impression that it's just about electronic transmission of results, it creates mixed messaging. This is why at CDD we have tried to do a lot of countering of some of these kinds of misinformation. And as we speak today, we have 25 young people we call the soldiers of mouth in each of the 3 states where the off-cycle election is taking place. And the role of those people is actually to collect these kinds of information that are spreading at the grassroots level, and then be able to provide the alternative narrative to say this is how actually the process works, so that people don't get mixed messaging and then lose confidence in the process.
Right. It's a question again of electronic transmission, and there's been so much about it, and a lot of attention is paid to that. But in our opening comments yesterday when we had this program, I recall that one of our guests drew attention to the fact that there is a kind of misunderstanding about that, which you have also just mentioned now. So.
Yes, the misunderstanding came from INEC, because they did say that the results of the elections were going to be transmitted electronically. So even though the Supreme Court has ruled that they have the right to transmit result whichever way, whether manually or electronically. But when you make statement, you should be able to do what you have said. You did say that, INEC did say that they were going to transmit the result electronically. And transmitting result electronically has a lot of advantages. Because at the polling units, once the results can be viewed on the IRF, it means that those results there cannot be changed. And what is affecting the credibility of elections in Nigeria is mainly the changing of results. Once from the polling units, before it gets to the ward, and then local government to the state collation offices, the results are usually changed. And that is affecting the credibility of elections. And that's why many people are saying that many people feel once the results are not even transmitted electronically, once the result cannot be viewed on IRF, it means the elections cannot be said to be credible. So that is the understanding of most Nigerians, and that's what they feel. So I think INEC should step up its game by transmitting the results, so that as voting, as election is ongoing, people can continuously view the result on IRF. Say, for example, you vote at polling unit A, and then you already have your results. If you go to IRF and you see the same result there, it gives you these assurances that, yes, INEC is doing the right thing. But once that is not done, people will continue to blame INEC. So the bulk of the work is in the court of INEC. They should please do what Nigerians want.
All right. Okay. At this point, again, let's return to Yenri and I guess. Yenri, you take it up from here.
Thank you, Cyril, and thank you to your guest. Amsfree, you responded there, talking about us being optimistic and, just keeping our minds open to see how this election will play out today. I totally agree with you there. And then talking about if 9 months was enough, for the electorate, electorate's confidence to be restored. You did make mention that it's not about time. It's not a factor of time. It's about, getting to see, results being, playing out on the field and all of that. So for states not having elections today and for states that would have off-cycle elections next year, of course, they are watching now. What happens today will determine how those other elections will go. And of course, in the build-up to 2027. So, Ibrahim, you were about, making some comments before we joined Cyril.
Yes, you see, fortunately, God has been abundantly rewarding to me because I covered or have been in sync with electoral processes since 1979 as an NTA staff. Then I covered the elections and then came through all these years up to the present. You see, going down the memory lane, especially the 1999 elections, when we saw the first democracy under Obasanjo that came in, people were very enthusiastic of moving from the military dictatorship to the civilian democratic setup. The worst democracy is better than the best military setup. I strongly believe and hold that view up to now, closely to my chest. Therefore, people were very enthusiastic. But after the Obasanjo came into power, politics became a do-or-die affair. Some people would just sit under trees
and write results
and just go and announce. They don't care. So that is why it was the starting point or the melting point of that process that did not go through the normal democratic process. People started losing hope. They lost confidence and everything. But I think the hope has been rekindled with the coming of Jega. If you look at that time that Jega came and there was these elections, I think people were really enthusiastic. And then now that the last elections was conducted, there was this feeling that, look, because INEC did not use the electronic system, the beavers were used, but the IREV or the portals were not used, gave some people, to lose hope. But I think there's a need for us to have that.
Not just the IREV alone, there was massive intimidation of, voters in that particular election. We saw that play out. We saw security agencies, just watching and seeing people being suppressed. That was, some of the reports that, were given at the end of the day for that particular election. So besides INEC itself, even the security agencies also had a blame, as regards that election.
You see, Madam Ari, the thing is, there is no perfect elections anywhere in the world. No perfect election. If you close the door, you're supposed to open a window of opportunities to see that, look, devices and follies that are recorded should be to a kind of a minimum level where the credibility of the election should be questioned. Some people are saying electronic system. We saw how some people or political parties in the last elections brought people from America to come and hijack the process on the electoral board and then dupe the electoral processes. So it is not a perfect thing. Technology can be, it could be penetrated. And therefore, who says that if you have the IRA or this thing, the portal being said, it cannot be tampered with? There are people that are, masters in obtaining the technological devices to suit some people. Therefore, to me, the blend of the two. If we don't have a perfect technological approach to it, then the normal the normal counting system that we be used to should also be given. Lastly, let me state here that I did my NYC in Imo in the early 80s. And believe me, Imo State has been a very peaceful, very wonderful state, very warm, with hospitable people. I consider it as my second home. Honestly and sincerely, I just hope that all these troubles and what have you should come to an end where we see the electoral process going through the normal democratic setup. We see leaders either continuing or emerging through a normal democratic without all these troubles. All these troubles, to me, they are political, they are economic, they are social, and what have you. And therefore, with the with the dispatch of the security mechanism, the police, the military, DSS, civil defense, and what have you, I am sure that the elections is going to be peaceful, credible, and also people are going to come out in support of the political party they want. It's either you look for a change or you maintain the status quo.
Nick?
Well, I believe in perfection, and I believe that we should aspire to be perfect. And the way to go is, of course, as humans we have our own feelings, but we should always raise the bar and aspire to do things professionally, and to meet the aspirations of our people for credible elections, for delivery of good governance. These are very key. If you are being recruited as a leader through elections, it is expected that at the end of the day, those that voted for you will benefit from certain things arising from the election. But we have a situation where members of the political class, you know, who ought to do that, don't do it. They don't even, in other jurisdictions, when somebody becomes a member of Congress, he goes back to his constituents, he holds town meetings with them, he engages with them, he finds out what their needs are, in addition to what they told him when he was campaigning. And if there are platforms adopted by his party, or if there are issues that he thought he could push through Congress and he couldn't push them, he will explain to them that these are the efforts I made and I was not successful, or I was successful to this extent. Okay. We don't see that happening here.
All right, Nick, you continue with your comments, but for now, let's join Cyril. Looks like we have an update from Lokoja.
Thank you, Yeri. We're linking up straight away with Jonathan Omajali in Lokoja. Let's go over to him. He has some updates for us. Yes, Jonathan, go ahead. Certainly, some activity has taken place from the last time we spoke. You want to update us?
It's 020 Ward A. We have about 750 voters who will be casting their ballot here today. Of course, voting accreditation and voting started quite early, 8:30 to be precise. And attention, priority was given to pregnant women and the elderly. So far, it's been a very smooth and seamless process. Just like I said, the elderly were given priority. I have one of them who has just cast his ballot and he will want to speak to us. Daddy, please come here.
Okay.
He's 71-year-old Pa Joel, am I right?
Yes, thank you very much.
Okay.
That is my name.
Yes. Talk
Joel
to us. How did it go?
In fact, it's very peaceful and quite orderly. Pregnant women and elderly person are given priority attention, and that's why I've casted my own vote already. So it's very peaceful and it's going on well.
Okay.
For now.
All right, you are in your 70s already, I'm sure. You didn't start this today. You've been voting for a very long time. Can you talk to us very briefly? How long have you been voting?
Right from when voting started, the Second Republic, I voted, and since then I don't cease to vote. I even come from very far place so that I can exercise my rights. That's why I'm here. Yes, because I know it is important. A vote, if counted, definitely will go a long way to select the necessary, person in the governance.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Thank you so much. We really appreciate your time.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So that is Pa Joel that just spoke to us. He started voting long ago, and he's satisfied with what he's seen here today. Just before I go, let me give you a very quick rundown of security operatives who are on ground and in other polling units that we visited. We have the military, we have the police, we have fire service, FRSC, NSCDC, NDLA. They are all on ground just to ensure that everything goes on well. We hope that just as we have here and in other polling units visited already, things will go on fine. We'll bring you more updates as things unfold.
Right, Jonathan, just before you go, just take one thing with you. I could see your face when Citizen Joel talked about having been voting right from the Second Republic. I'm sure now as we leave you, you'll have time to go back to senior citizen Joel and ask him how it was back in the Second Republic, because I'm certain, Jonathan, you couldn't have been part of that that era. So perhaps you'd glean a few things about how elections were conducted then and now. Right. Thank you, Jonathan, for the update. We'll return to you at some point in time. We're back here. Again, taking it from the senior citizen, yes. He has been voting. But I'd like you to look at how it was, the Second Republic, and how it is now.
Yeah, but history tells us that it has always been a struggle. It has been always volatile, not just from the Second Republic, right from before independence. The Second Republic, for example, that was when we had the skirmishes, the violence, in the West, where election results, were, contested. But one marked difference between then and now, I would believe, is the role money played in politics. Money politics, or politics driven by money, was a lot less pronounced, in those times, than we have now. Politics also had a lot of ideological bent, so the political parties could give different alternatives in terms of what they would do when they get into office. So at the time, you had some political parties who believed in socialist democracy, free education, healthcare, rural integration, and things like that. So you could separate between the political parties, who stand for what in terms of governance outcomes in the Second Republic, for example. There were people who had the Aoist school of thoughts in terms of delivery of governance. There were others who were of a more conservative school, like the NPN, and so there was some marked difference between the contestants. But in today's politics, that difference is not there. There's a very thin line between what you can pick, among the political parties. For example, with the outcomes of the 2023 elections, the composition of the National Assembly, we were expecting that a political party whose candidate ran on the platform of will cut waste, would be more prudent in governance. When the issue of National Assembly purchasing SUVs came up, the representatives of that political parties at the National Assembly should have said, no, our party stands, against this. But we saw all of them, just basically keeping quiet and not really, so as we speak today, we don't even have an effective opposition. Right. So, like Citizen Joel would have had more marked choices to make in the Second Republic than it would have now.
Right. Well, what are your thoughts, Atiku?
I want to align myself with him with the last statement which he made. And the reason why the political parties are not based on ideology now is because you cannot blame the electorates alone. The leaders also share parts of the blame. When the electorates vote in leaders, and they see that these leaders do not in any way try to improve in their well-being, then, of course, they will not be enthusiastic to vote without being motivated without any incentive, and that is why you see money politics as of today. People know that once these leaders get to office, okay, I was not part of the Second Republic. I do not know anything, but I read so many things about the Second Republic, and I learned so many things from elderly statesmen like Metama Sule, and one-on-one with the former governor of Jigawa State, Sule Lamido. All those things which they told me, and the ones I heard from Metama Sule, they are no longer the things we see as of today, because the leaders then, when they get into office, their lifestyle does not change. Somebody will live the same way he was living as before he gets into office. I mean, there were no luxuries for them after getting into office. So they were working for the people. So the people were supporting them very well. Because what I heard from Sule Lamido, that sometimes people use their own money to transport themselves to go for campaigns. They support these politicians financially and otherwise, because when these politicians get into office, they will work for them. As far as I know, since 1999, they have been using roads to campaign for us. These roads are not available. Successive governments will come and say, okay, we will try and provide electricity. The only thing we hear is megawatt. Megawatt has increased, but this does not, we do not see lights in our homes. And the ordinary citizen do not really appreciate number of megawatts that has increased. He wants to put on the light and see the light, not for you to tell him that the so number of megawatts at this time. So all of these things have made both the electorates and the leaders, coming to the leadership of the National Assembly also, though I do not agree with their actions. But if you are a member of House of Rep and you do not have enough money to support or to give to these electorates, the next election, they will not vote for you. That is the challenge. So the whole thing, there is a need for moral reorientation so that we can have, we can change from the way we are thinking now to the best form of doing things.
All right. I'll just say, I've been involved in election coverage since the Second Republic, throughout all the elections that we've had. As part of that, I've been part of it. And it's interesting to me that there's one thing, one recurring decimal, and that has been what we've always talked about, the attempt by some people to skew things in their own favor, particularly when it comes to the issue of violence. Mercifully, people would say violence is on the decline. But again, we say it shouldn't happen. As we get back to Yenri, who certainly was not part of any elections in the Second Republic, perhaps Nick would have seen those elections there. As we get back to Yenri, I'd like us to also remember one aspect that is still a blur, no matter how we describe it, that someone was abducted, and it's all part of this election. Right. Yenri.
Many thanks, Cyril. Well, I'm glad that you didn't ask me. You know, of course, the question should have actually been if I was born at that time. So I'll go to Nick. I'll go to Nick. I'm sure you have all the answers. You heard Pa Joel, you know, talk about him voting, and you heard the question that Cyril, you know, asked you. But just to add to, you know, the question that Cyril asked, there was also a comment made by Pa Joel about coming from a very far distance to come and cast his ballot. I thought that was one issue that INEC tried to address before the 2023 general elections, when they tried to, you know, make more polling units and make it more accessible for electorate. Could you just tell us, from the experience of 2023 general elections and, you know, what's likely going to play out today, do you think that has worked?
Yes, you know, there were conscious efforts to create polling units, you know, before the 2023 elections. Unfortunately, in some of the areas where those polling units were created and people were migrated to them, the people didn't tend to go to them. They prefer to go back to the old polling units for now. And I think it's still work in progress in the sense that people still need to be sensitized on the need to go to the new ones because the idea is to decongest the existing polling units by creating more and to make voting a pleasant experience, which was what motivated the creation of polling units or making polling units accessible to voters. But what is key to me about a citizen or senior citizen Joel is his commitment, his passion to the electoral process. And I was saying that you could imagine if such a person at that age could live wherever he was to go to that polling unit to vote, and he was disappointed one way or the other, how he would have felt. Thank God he was not. And then part of the issue, one of the issues that we had in 2023 and which is likely to now affect the turnout in the conduct of the off-cycle governorship elections is that, you know, more than 60% of those who voted in the 2023 elections were youths. And most of them were voting for the first time. And if you have a disappointment for the first time, you are not likely to be incentivized or to be encouraged. And that is why INEC has a lot of work to do. Our population shows, our demographics shows that our population will be largely youthful, that will have a youthful bulge, and that will manifest itself up to 2050. And by 2050 is projected by the United Nations that, you know, Nigeria will be either the third or fourth largest populated country in the world after India. By then, India would have overtaken China, then China, then Nigeria. So we need also to have that in mind, that as we progress, we have more youths, you know, getting registered to vote. And of course, you know, their disposition is not the same as that of Citizen Joel. So we need to do things in such a fashion. That's why I said, for me, we must work towards perfection. We must make sure things work so that we give hope to these young people. But if we don't, then they will despair. And I've said it severally on platforms such as this, that the democratic reversals that we're having is as a consequence of lack of delivering good governance to citizens across Central and West Africa. Part of it also is that people feel their votes don't count. So they find recourse in other things. Before now, you remember the famous book written by Fukuyama, The End of History. And the idea of the end of history was to celebrate democracy, the extent to which countries were embracing the democratic project, you know. Okay. And then suddenly we are now having reversals. We are having reversals. I don't want to use the word. But
don't use the word. You use another word. But let's quickly join Kingsley on Onuwu, one of my colleagues. He's in Owerri. Let's have an update now of what is happening at the point where he is at the moment. Kingsley.
How are you? This is polling unit 012 Amimo in Ikeduru local government area of Imo State. Incidentally, this is the polling center where the PDP governorship candidate Samuel Anyanwu will be casting his ballot any moment from now. But unfortunately, INEC officials and material arrived late. They just arrived around 8:50 to 9 o'clock, almost 9 o'clock. And the voters here are worried over late arrival of materials for the election. Here with me is one of the voters.
Please, when did you arrive here? Your name?
Yeah, good morning. Honorable Curtis Akangozri is my name. Honorable Curtis Akangozri. I arrived here at exactly 7:30, and we've been waiting here until 9 o'clock. The INEC arrived here by 9 o'clock, so I don't know why.
So will it have anything to do with your determination to exercise your ballot?
No, I cannot be deterred. So we are here. We are waiting for them.
Okay. Thank you very much. As you can see, the voters are determined and anxious to cast their ballot for the candidate of their choice. So despite the fact that they arrive here early enough, they are not still tired. They are waiting, and they say they will wait until the voting commences because they cannot afford to miss out.
Kingsley, of course, we'll get back to you. I'm sure when the candidate you mentioned will be at that polling unit gets there, and when voting starts properly, we want to get an update of how things are going, because we can see that a large number of voters actually turned out in that polling unit. So yes, we would really want to get an update from that particular polling unit, and so we can be sure that voting ended on time there, since it's not starting on time, and also I'll be sure that everyone actually got an opportunity to vote. Okay, so now we'll go to Yenagoa now. We have Dr. Mohammed there. Dr. Mohammed in Yenagoa, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear.
And I like this. I'm sure you've been to a polling. It's a few of developments there this morning, election day in Bayelsa.
Morning once again.
Dr. Mohammed. So I'm sure that okay.
Kogi Mohammed. I am here in Bayelsa State to observe the governorship election. I am from the Institute for Peace and Conflict Resolution, Abuja. I am here in Bayelsa State to observe. It's okay. Thank you so much. Okay, from the Institute for Peace and Conflict Resolution, Abuja, under the Federal Ministry of Foreign Affairs. It may interest you to know why we are in Yenagoa, Bayelsa State. I want to tell you that some of my colleagues are in Imo, Kogi State, presently observing the exercise. Our mandate, to begin with, has to do with promoting peace and security in Nigeria and other countries in the continent of Africa. By extension, we have as one of our mandates too, as ensuring that we complement the efforts of other stakeholders in promoting a culture of transparent, credible, free, fair, and by and large, or extension, a peaceful, democratic transition. It may interest you to know that election is very, very important part of democracy. No democracy can be called a democracy without election. This election, as you all are aware, is a formal and organized way of voting or choosing our leaders by means of voting process. Be that as it may, on our arrival, we went round to interact with our stakeholders, to begin with the INEC, to ascertain their level of their preparedness. We met with Director Voter Education, and from all he told us, we had that confidence that there will be no problem concerning deployment of both sensitive and non-sensitive materials. As it is at the moment, there is no complaint, so far so good, from the polling units that they are not getting they've not received their materials, though some may have not gotten, but then, so far so good. The ones that we've listened to, they have started the process, and we hope that it will end well. Going by the responses from the security agents, including the police being the lead agency, DSS, NSCDC, and National Orientation, they did assure that they, though, have, like we in the Institute, because we have in the organization a unit saddled with monitoring or tracking the activities, that is early warning, and after the analysis, we felt we should be on ground and go around, and they corroborated our findings, and they assured us that they are on top of the game. And by the grace of God, we are going to have a peaceful process in Bayelsa State. Thank you.
Dr. Mohammed, for that comment there about what you have observed, and since you're on ground in Bayelsa, and I'm sure you have people who are part of your team who are in different local governments and of course in different polling units, checking how the election is going. You have said that the security agencies are up to their game this morning, and for INEC, some polling units have received materials, the process has started, and for some others they're just picking up. But what about the electorate? Could you just give us a feel? You've been in Bayelsa even before today. What responses did you get from the citizens in that state as regards to the election today? And then for today, how would you describe the turnout? Do you foresee that the number of those registered in that particular state for Bayelsa, do you foresee that we're going to have a good percentage come out to cast their ballots today?
From the interactions we had with the electorates, we are looking forward to today to elect a governor of their choice. And if you think of some of the places that maybe the turnout may not be looking appreciable, it might be because of the distance from where they are coming from. Apathy, you may attribute it to a number of reasons, but I do not want to comment on that because we still have enough time for people to move from their respective houses to the polling units. I am optimistic that the voters will surely come out in their large numbers and vote the candidate of their choice.
Of course, everyone is optimistic that we would have good turnouts, something better than the general elections, of course. So that's the projection. But I just want us to look at another aspect. From your interactions with the citizens in that particular state, for the general elections, it's out there that vote buying did not really carry the weight it used to carry, during elections, because a lot of people were determined to go, cast their ballot for the right candidate they felt, should occupy whatever position. So for Bayelsa State, now let's be specific. Do you really think, that they will be swayed, with money in whatever guise, or do you think that from those you have spoken to and from your assessment of the mood of that state, that the elections and the electorate rather would be doing the right thing this morning based on their conscience, not because anybody is coercing them by whatever means to vote a particular candidate?
Thank you so much. I want to believe that from the interactions, many want to do the right thing because of especially the technology that is being deployed this time around, the beavers. If you know that you cannot shortchange or do anything otherwise, then why then would you want to do anything that will sort of make the process somehow not all right? So with that, I think the electorates are very aware of the fact that this time around, it's an opportunity for them to always choose the leader that will represent them very well.
Mohammed, but I think I have just one more question for you before we move on to other guests that we have joining us for this off-cycle election this morning. And then my focus now will be on the political parties. Yes, as a body, as an organization, you have, contact with the political parties too in that particular state, and then you already gave us a feel of what the electorate think. For the political parties, we know that some of the malpractices carried out in elections are usually not even by electorate, but the political parties and their agents. So from your interaction and then from your assessment so far, do you think that the political parties are willing to do the right thing, are willing to come out, just ensure that they vote, which is all they're supposed to do, and not probably observe and then return? Or do you foresee that they are likely going to cause disruptions in areas where they do not have a stronghold? Right.
Process like this, the chances of political parties to do one thing or the other to favor them cannot be ruled out. But then they understood the fact that proper machinery is on ground, making sure that they do not do anything questionable that will derail the process. So I am sure they wouldn't want to do anything. And let me quickly, say something. Politicians are beginning to realize, especially following the statement made by one of our leaders, former president, the person of Dr. Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, who said his ambition is not worth the blood of anybody. That kind of statement has made a number of politicians to realize the fact that their ambition should not be something that can be said to be a do-or-die thing. Secondly, he's reaching out to his successor by congratulating him even ahead of the completion of the process is one way to show that politicians are beginning to realize why it's important for us to have a peaceful process. Lastly, it's when you have a peaceful election that you have a government in place. Any election that is characterized by violence may stand the chance of being cancelled. So I want to enjoin the politicians to please play this game by the rules. Thank you.
But of course, we'll get back to you much later. I'm sure when voting has commenced and probably ended in that particular state, so we can also have your assessment of the whole process. Nick, before we joined my colleague Kingsley and then Dr. Mohammed in Yenagwa, you were about to use the word, and I told you that you would use a different word since you were not comfortable with the word you wanted to use. So yes, you're going to continue with that line of thought, and then you're going to also respond to the question I asked Dr. Mohammed. Do you really think that there will be other factors that will coerce voters in this particular election? I'm sure you know things that politicians have used in the past to get electorates to sway towards their direction.
I think to preempt coercion and violence, what Anik has said is that wherever there is violence, no votes will be counted at that polling unit. I think that should serve as a warning to politicians who are likely to consider visiting violence or disrupting voting at certain polling units. Of course, that cuts both ways, in the sense that sometimes also politicians perpetrate this violence at polling units where their opponents are very popular. So it cuts both ways. But what is significant is that INEC has taken a position that if you perpetrate violence or disruption in a particular place, INEC will not count the votes in that polling unit. And I think that should serve as sufficient warning to the politicians. I was saying before now, that the democracy project is very dear to us. Some of us, before now, made sacrifices, to bring about this project. We are not looking at it in terms of personal benefits, but we are looking at it in terms of improving the well-being of Nigerians and also creating an environment for other positive things to thrive. It was on that basis that, seeing the adverse consequences of military rule, that we canvassed for democracy. And after canvassing for democracy, the political class that benefited, is the chief beneficiary of the process, is not playing its part. And with what is happening around us, I was thinking that by now we should have learned some lessons. We should check ourselves and make sure that things work out, and that on the part of the election management body too, that it gets its acts together. Amsfree was saying that in the aftermath of the 2023 elections, CDD was calling for an audit of the elections. It's something INEC does. At the end of every election cycle, it sits down, it takes a look at the conduct of the elections, and it does that in a very forthright manner. It invites all officials that have partaken in the conduct of the elections, and it interrogates them, and it gives them even the latitude to say what they want to say without being sanctioned. And I think the commission did that. And they also went out of their way this time to engage with members of civil society and to engage with the media to say, what did we do right and what did we do wrong? Tell us. And I would expect that they would have factored all these suggestions in the planning and the implementation of these off-season governorship elections. But there are also limits to which people can be forthright, and which is why some of us seem not to have an appreciation of the loss of confidence by Nigerians after the conduct of the 2023 elections. And I was also saying that from the persons I interacted with, apart from the commission on the one hand, I interacted with a lot of youthful voters, and many of them expressed their anger, their bitterness at what happened. And incidentally, most of them were voting for the first time. So we need to take that into consideration and to make sure that things work nearly seamlessly, you know, with clockwork precision, so that these people who are having misgivings about the process will now begin to have confidence in it, and then with time, you know, they will now come back. But, you know, if you the first time somebody tries something and it doesn't work out,
according to Ibrahim, you try again. So you will respond.
You didn't give me the chance.
You will respond.
Allow me to make a point.
Ibrahim, you would respond. You will respond. But I need to join.
There is no methodology.
Cyril,
there is no methodology
right now.
That
Ibrahim, I will give you ample time to respond to him.
You'll be allowing him to talk. You know.
Thank you, Ibrahim. So Cyril, I'm sure you. I am being
the chance to chip in, but at this point we have a quick update coming from Chuma Wankwere, who is in Okigwe. If we can link up with Chuma Wankwere. Chuma, where exactly are you? Are you in Owerri or Okigwe? Let's know.
We are here at Central School, Umebie, Ugiri. Ugiri is in Isialambano local government area. Ugiri is in Okigwe local government area, and is one of the PU polling units. And people are verifying, the electorates are verifying their names in the register of voters on display here. Everywhere is calm, it's a sunny weather, and there are no uprisings of any kind. People are calm. The few that are around presently, they are calm, going about what they have come for. And let's talk to the presiding officer. Let him tell us how ready he is and if he has any challenges so far. May we meet you, sir? Please, have you recorded any challenges? The turnout and all that. Tell us.
Presiding officer.
Speak aloud. Speak aloud.
The presiding officer, polling unit, 002. So far, technically, we are ready to commence
You don't have any challenge. Okay. Yes. Yes, the presiding officer is telling us now that everywhere is calm and he is very much ready. He hasn't recorded any challenge so far, and that the people are ready, the people that are around, the electorates that are around to vote, that they have the zeal to vote. But at the turnout, as at now, he wouldn't say, and I wouldn't say it's impressive, but it's too early to start establishing how the day will be. So that is the way it is from here, from Ugiri in Isialambano in Okigwe local government area of Imo State. My name is...
Okay, thank you very much. Chuma, reaching us from Okigwe. Pity that the initial comments by the polling officer was lost in the background there. I think we probably had the wrong channels on because we could clearly hear Chuma when he spoke into the microphone, but when the presiding officer was speaking, it would seem that what we got was a lot of background noise and not him. But I would have loved to engage with him to find out. He says it's probably too early. He's ready. but he's not impressed by the voter turnout or the same. But again, that seems to me to be a community where people can quickly walk across even before voting ends, and they can cast their ballot. But generally, things have been on, and we've seen people coming out. Just before we went off to Chuma, we're analyzing people's turnout. Comments have been made about what's responsible for seeming apathy in some areas. But on the other hand, when you look at it, there are people who are fired up, and they're fired up because of what's been happening, and it's making them even more determined to come out and put their stamp on the electoral process and say, we will take part so we can decide what happens.
Yes, I think wherever we see such a level of enthusiasm and the energy of the citizens to participate, we should applaud it, we should encourage it, and we should ensure that the process works in a manner that gives further encouragement. Because where you have that sort of depressed participation in other areas, it's not too good for the process, especially when we know that...
Okay, as we see on the screen now, the other half of the screen, we are back in Kogi, and I believe it's one of the candidates who's casting his ballot now, and it's the APC candidate, Ododo, who's going to exercise his franchise. We can see that on what you have on the screen there.
One question, and I will just use that one wrap up. Are we ready? Your Excellency. Alright, Your Excellency, you have just cast your vote. From your initial observation, how is the whole process going? Are you satisfied? Tell us about it.
Thank you very much. I have just casted my vote, and as you can see, it's just like carnival life. And I want to use this medium to commend the INEC management for putting in place a very transparent, peer-free electoral processes. And again, the security agencies, they are doing very wonderfully. As you can see, the election is peaceful and orderly. So I'm happy about that. Thank you.
If I feel your heartbeat, will it sound confident? If I listen to your heartbeat, will it sound confident?
Very well. Well, you should know. As you can see, I am on ground. This is my village. I am close to the people. I am part of them. You can see, everybody is happy, just like carnival life. So we are winning and winning very well. Thank you.
Hello, sir.
Comments there by the APC candidate in the Kogi governorship election, Ododo, who just cast his ballot. From his expressions there, he seems to be very satisfied with all that has happened in that polling unit. He's said, of course, that everything has gone on peacefully, and of course, we take his word for it because that's where he belongs, and he's right there.
Yes,
and he's,
absolutely. I think that whole comment around acceptance of the fact that the process is going well is okay. But we just hope, because politicians being the stuff they are made of, we just hope when also the outcomes come, the results come, already he has signaled that the process is going on well. Right. We just also hope that that same yes, you know, would but there was a point I was trying to make, and it also fits off of the discussion that was going on in the other studio, which is around the whole question of what would energize voters, what is the limit to which the political actors should go in trying to mobilize voters to come out there and vote for them. And an example of that came to our fact-checking desk yesterday, where we got report from Bayelsa that just on the eve of before people started going to the polls, there was distribution of rice, and one narrative was that that was being used as a form of voter inducement. For us, such issues actually have to do with abuse of the power of incumbency. Incumbency because it was reported that the rice being distributed was actually from the federal government palliative program, and it was now being used as a political tool, which is what we also flagged in our pre-election report yesterday, that abuse of power of incumbency is not really something that would augur well for the political process. We must have a political process that presents a level playing field for all the political actors to be able to contest without the process being skewed in any in the favor of any political party.
All right then, and we've got signals that another of our correspondents, Dele Atumbi, is in Ajaokuta, and he's up and ready to give us an update. Yes, Dele, there you are. You're in Ajaokuta. Give us an update. What's on ground and how's it going so far?
We are in polling unit 036 and in Ganaja Motor Park area, Gereku Ward in Ajaokuta. In this ward alone, in this polling unit alone, we are expecting 750 registered voters to vote in this polling unit alone. And you can see women are very many among those that are expected to vote in this polling unit. And if you are talking about the security arrangements in Ajaokuta local government, there is what we call tight security at this point. Not only that we have NSCDC, we equally have the police, we have Nigerian Immigration Service, we equally have the military, especially the entrance to Ajaokuta area is local government is we have watertight security, both by the military and the other security operatives. One thing is sure, that it is peaceful, it is orderly, and we have many people that had voted at this polling unit. One of them that had voted is this man. What's the name? Can we meet you?
My name is Friday Manda.
How would you describe the voting exercise here?
It's very excellent, no problem. And I've casted my vote, no problem. Everything is going normal.
Since we started, how has the exercise been?
It has been successful.
Well, that's just the true position of things here. Peaceful, orderly, and 750 people are expected to vote between 8:30 a.m. and 2:30 p.m. this afternoon. That's just a report from Ajaokuta. And we'll move from here to another polling unit, but we are in polling unit 036 in Ajaokuta.
Thank you very much, Dele Atumbi. We'll check in later on when you've moved to another polling unit so we can get more updates from you. But now let's get an update from the SDP governorship candidate polling unit in Ida, and Ajibola Christopher is standing by to bring us this update.
This is polling unit 005, Okotawa polling unit opposite the Akta Igala Palace. Security operative are on ground to ensure orderliness, and eligible voters are also on ground to exercise their franchise. And this is the polling unit of the Social Democratic Party governorship candidate Murtala Ajaka. Sir, can you tell us the situation of what is going on here?
Well, alhamdulillah, we thank God Almighty that we are alive to witness this day again. It has been like this. As you have rightly said, this is Okotonoa polling unit, directly opposite at the front of Atas Palace, unit 005. All along, not even today, it has always been peaceful in this unit. Everybody here is matured, no violence, nothing, and we are highly prepared to display our franchise, our expected right. And by the special grace of God, it is going to be peaceful all through.
We have no problem in this unit. This is a Okotonoa unit. So we are here now to vote. We are about starting. And we are praying to God Almighty that there should be no problem in this unit. Even in the whole local government, we are praying that there should not be problem.
We are set, the beavers is perfectly okay, perfectly charged, the data is okay, we are set for the election.
Any moment from now, the voting for this ward will commence, and everyone will be on ground to exercise their civic responsibility.
Well, Ajibala Christopher in Ida. Next, we'll bring an update from the INEC office in Lokoja by Jacob Sani.
Beautiful morning from Lokoja, the Kogi State capital. I'm at the INEC office right away. The situation here is absolutely calm. From the background, people are moving in freely. You can see the security men from the background noise. The train doors are on ground to ensure that no strange movement here from Lokoja, the Kogi State capital. Jacob.
Right. Accreditation is reportedly going on at Agasa in Okene, and we'll go over there for an update. In the meantime, accreditation at Agasa in Okene.
This is Sagama local government area of Bayelsa State. Electoral materials have been distributed to various polling units. Everywhere is calm. Prospective voters are patiently waiting to exercise their franchise.
This is Sagbama Ward 10, and we are waiting the INEC officials to distribute the materials to various polling units. And the Sagbama Ward 10 is a peaceful place. There is no threats, no fights. Everywhere is calm. Thank you very much, sir.
So what's your expectation today?
My expectation is everybody should protect their votes so that there will not be a violence.
Thank you.
Well, there are also reports of some people having been arrested in Kogi. I think we have those visuals now, those who have been arrested. All right. We'll try to bring that much later, find out what's happened there, the circumstances under which they were arrested. But obviously it must have been as a result of a breach of the process. But we'll bring that to you much later. Back here in the studio. Yes, as you were discussing before we went on for the updates.
Yes, so we're just even discussing here that this is some of the things we have advocated for over the years, that when you have an electoral process going on and then you have people who are trying to interfere with the process in a way that undermines the credibility, then real strong action should be taken. And so we believe that those people should actually be made to account for their actions. And then beyond that, we don't just want to hear arrests. We also want to see them actually face.
Yeah, but that's what many Nigerians have always spoken out about. These things happen. There's a wide celebration of arrests, and that's the end of it. You never find out. You never know whether those people are charged to court, whether eventually they're sanctioned, they're found guilty and sanctioned, and the whole cycle repeats itself the next time you have elections. And they said, look, unless there are deliberate measures put in place to deter others from doing the same thing, they'll say, oh, well, this will probably just end in smoke.
It has always been like that, and from the reports which we have also received, while here, I have received video that there's a local government chairman who was arrested from Kogi State and by the military. And let me use this opportunity to really commend the Chief of Defense Staff. The military is doing a wonderful job in Kogi State and the two other states. This is because this is the first time since 2015 where you will have an election that there are no casualties. By our predictions, if not because of the effort of the military, by this time, more than 50 lives should have been lost. From yesterday night to this morning, more than 50 lives should have been lost by now, because that has become the tradition in Kogi election. Most of these incidences are not reported in the media. That is why Nigerians don't get to know the actual number of persons that are killed during election. But as at this moment, as we speak, up till this moment, no single soul has been lost. So we really need to commend the Nigerian military. Like the report we also received is that the chairman that was arrested and even paraded has been released.
Well, we'll get details of that. If those things really occurred, we'll find out about them. But again, the question is, what drives people to want to thwart a process that has been well laid out as to return people who are legitimately elected in office? Is it that some people do not care about the process of good governance or the process of good governance?
Yes, it's a combination of all of these factors that have been identified. I think one very interesting explanation is that we've seen over time, that political actors feel that the whole process of going back to the people, interacting with the people, dialoguing with the people is more like a long drawn process, because in that situation, people will ask questions. When a political actor says he will do ABC, the people are likely to ask, where would you find the money to do it? So the political actors are more interested in avoiding all of that. Imagine in Kogi State, where you have 21 local governments, having to go around those local governments explaining to the people. They feel that is a lot long drawn than you just go around, you peddle fake news, you share money, and you do all the things that are not really the things that add value to the political process. So, which is why the role of civil society in mobilizing citizens to also understand some of these approaches that take away a lot from the democratic process is really very critical. And I would say, for example, the work we are currently doing in the 3 states, I have to really, put some spotlight on that, looking at, the role we are playing in countering disinformation. I would say that a lot of information that would have made citizens to lose confidence in the process, or even lose confidence in the legitimacy of the institutions, have really been countered. And those information we've countered, we share them back to the people at the grassroots to say, this is not actually the way it is. This is the way it is, and this is what you should do. In fact, as we are speaking, we have radio programs ongoing in the 3 states where the off-cycle elections are taking place, to educate the people to say it is not every information you see, because the political actors will want to share things that would hoodwink the voters, make them to think in certain ways, and make them to maybe even take the laws into their hands. And so we, have been in that process, and it has really helped to reduce the tension in the process. So we hope that with some of these developments, we'll begin to see political actors that act in the right way. But the aspect of the role of the military, as commendable as it is, we also want our elections in the future to be about military, armored tanks everywhere, the whole place militarized. For now, it is necessary, I agree. But in the future, we need a change of behavior or a change of attitudes among the political actor, such that we will no longer need all of those, militarized approach to election security. Election security will now be such that, everybody is doing what they should do in terms of playing their roles, and the political actors are doing, the right thing to make the process a lot more seamless and smooth.
All right. We return to Bayelsa now, and let's link up with Kingsley, who has an update for us. Right.
Welcome to Yenagoa, the Bayelsa State capital. The election is ongoing at the moment. We are in Ward 6. This very polling unit is Unit 51. We have Unit 59. There are so many polling units from Unit 51 through Unit 59 at this St. Jude, Amarata, in Yenagoa local government area. Of course, you bear in mind that Yenagoa, going by the INEC statistics, produces the highest voting strength in this election. There are about 218,300 electorate that will be participating in this election. As we got here this morning, election has already commenced in earnest. People are out here. You could see women, the elderly, some even nursing mothers. They are all here on the queue. You could see them. They are desirous to participate in this process. It's a process for them too many that will decide the future of the average Bayelsan in the next 4 years. Of course, the security men are also present in this very location to ensure that there is law and order. Of course, with me here is one of the electorate who has just exercised his franchise, and we would like to get his thought on, sir, how did you see the process today compared to the last election? What have you observed, sir?
By my observation, I think it's so free. To me, I would judge this for now fair, credible, because I don't see any trouble, you don't see any violence. I just voted, so to me, it's fair enough.
A key concern in this election is the performance of the beavers. What was the process like? How long did it take you for you to be accredited and voted?
Compared to the last election, today the beavers, they work fast. I stood there not less than a minute. I was verified and I voted. So it's very nice, very okay. It's working well.
Of course, he has just exercised his franchise. Like I've just spoken with him. There are others who are also standing on the queue to participate in deciding the future of Bayelsa. This is an election that all Bayelsans are desirous to participate in, and across the state, elections have commenced, and security men, while we are driving along the streets of Bayelsa, we saw security presence ensuring that everything goes according to the laid down rules and procedure. That is the situation at the moment at this very polling unit.
Thank you very much. We'll link up to get more updates as we go on. Well, back here in the Abuja studio, I'm Sri Ajanaku. Just a quick round of so far. We've got reports from everywhere that the process has been going on smoothly, except for one or two other conflicting, which have not been fully established yet. But on a general scale, it's been as if so far, so good.
I agree. So far, so good. That desire we've always had for a robust participation in the electoral process, we are beginning to see early signs that we're heading in that direction, and we really hope that at the end of today's exercise in the 3 states, we will use this to reset our democracy, correct some of the perception issues that have come from previous elections, and then put Nigeria's democracy on a sound footing.
All right. We'd like to thank you very much for coming on this far. Arms Free Ajanaku, Project Lead, Countering Disinformation in Elections, Center for Democracy Development, CDD. We thank you.
Thank you.
Well,
thank you.
Arms Free will be taking his leave of us, but I still have with me Atiku Abubakar Isa, a public affairs analyst. And the same thing we'll ask you. So far, so good.
Yes, the election so far has been very impressive. But something that is noticed in 2 of the states, Bayelsa and Imo, is that of voter apathy. And it is something that we predicted, because these 2 states are homogeneous in nature. And because of the homogeneity, there is nothing much in a contention like that of Kogi State, which this is my own personal observation because of the things that have happened so far in the last 7 years. The state, Kogi State, has been divided on ethnic line. And because of that, you can see that the voters in Kogi State are more enthusiastic in that all of them, even before 8 a.m., so many voters were already out, waiting for INEC officials to come out for accreditation and the voting process to start. You could see when the APC candidate, where he voted, a large crowd was there. Same thing with the place where the SDP candidate is supposed to vote. As at the time he will come out, you will notice a very large turnout also. This is because the APC candidate is from the Central Senatorial Zone, while the SDP candidate is from the Eastern Senatorial Zone. And that there's something very striking that Nigerians need to know. The SDP's candidate and that of the Labour Party's candidate also, both of them are from the Eastern Senatorial Zone. The East has the number of PVCs collected, according to INEC, is 905,274, while the APC's candidate, who comes from the Central, has about 496,000, some numbers above PVCs collected. 400 and or a little above, a little below 450,000. The West has about 496,000. Or thereabout. So now, if you put the total number of PVCs collected in both the East and the Central and the West, is about the total number of PVCs collected in the East alone. So there's a great contention, and since it is already the voting pattern is already is taking ethnic dimension, what this means is that you will have a large voter turnout in Kogi State, as against what you will find out in both Bayelsa and Imo, because there's not much in contention in Bayelsa and Imo. Why is this taking this pattern? The people believe that it is only when your person is in power that you can get the dividend of democracy, which is not very good for our country. There should be confidence in leadership. And as long as there's no confidence in leadership, all of these things will continue to happen, and the tension in the political process will continue to increase.
All right.
It's not good for democracy.
Well, speaking about what's happening in Kogi, let's link up with our studios in Lokoja and have a word or two with Professor John Alabi, who's Dean, Faculty of Social Sciences, Prince Abubakar Audu University, Ayingba. Prof, thanks for joining us.
Good morning, Nigerians and co-guys. It's glad to be here again, another 4 years after the last count.
All right, I like the greetings to Kogites. So what are Kogites up to this morning as they go out and elect a governor to steer the affairs of the state for the next 4 years?
So this election is a very important one. Important because the participants in the elections are drawn, as it were, along ethnic and zonal basis. I agree with Atiku talking about the candidates from the east, from the west, and from the central. I want to believe that with 1.9 million registered voters, 1.8 million collected, you will definitely see large voter turnout. I want to also thank Almighty God and, of course, all the gladiators that what we normally experienced in the past has not featured, particularly the eve of elections. I know very well that eve of election is always mad with violence. I want to say that all the stakeholders in the election are working in synergy. First and foremost, the participants, the gladiators, particularly of the 3 or 4 political parties, have signed peace accord, and I think they are respecting that so far. I want to thank all the security agencies for doing fantastic job. I say this because from benefit of insight, I've been on radio and television virtually during elections, and the reports I get is that, oh, something has been happening there, something is happening there. But for this particular one, it appears everybody is on the same page. The military, the navy, the soldier, the police, and the civil defense are doing fantastically well. The streets are quite empty, as it were. People are going about, trekking, as it were, to that distance to vote. One thing I know is that this election is not akin to the election we have in Imo and Anambra. We are, heterogeneous states. And like Atiku mentioned, I want to say this, and it's very, very unfortunate that it is until a person from your ethnic clan or cleavage gets to power before you get dividend of democracy. That is not right. That's not democracy. That's not leadership. I'm hoping that as we go out today, Congress will go and elect. My prayer is that the best candidate will win. And we will have a leader who will become the leader of all. You see, so that we can settle down to the issue of governance. I'm particularly interested in leapfrogging development in Kogi State. I've been around there for years, born in this city of Lokoja. From a local government to state, I want to see development. Our founding fathers have dreams. And so what we need is a leader that will galvanize all of us together, irrespective of where you come from, and move on. And that is the state I'm looking forward to. I speak 3-4 languages in this state, and I want to see the same goes for all. Let us vote and support. My take is this: as we started so nicely now, the security agency should be on top of the situation. I'm happy also that the government of the state have asked the students to go home to yesterday and Monday, Tuesday. There's always the issue that we know of. I think the government has done it right. The schools are on vacation till on Wednesday. Hopefully, the results have been released. So let's see what happens. But my take is that so far, so good. I'm happy with the deployment of materials, and they are all working well. I think as we go around, those flashpoints, those have been taken care of. I'm happy you are talking about it. I want to hear more about those flashpoints so that everything goes on well. Still, by the grace of God, we will have a peaceful election.
Prof, one thing I'd like to ask of you is this. Yes, mercifully, Kogi has been spared of those incidents in the past. So far, so good. Would you put this down to the heavy presence of security agencies, the remobilization of all security agencies around, the political parties themselves learning now that there's no gain in all the violence, or the electorate themselves, or a combination of all?
I want to say it's a combination of all, but I need to calibrate combination of all. I think for the electorate, they know that when the chips are down, you need a leader that will deliver. For the political parties, prior to the election, we have been hearing of a series of skirmishes. But they signed a peace pact and they appear to me to be ready for election. But above all, I must say, Cyril, the credit will go to the security agencies. Everybody now knows that if you go out of your way to do anything, you are on it. The police have been shown neutrality. The military are commended also, because I know in the past that people use some of these security agencies to curry favor. I was already this morning, I was telling, I'm happy. Neutrality is central. I think the military and the security agency are doing fantastically well, if I can use that word, and that is what is paramount. But for the politicians, of course.
Right. Okay, Professor John Alabi, Dean, Faculty, Social Sciences, Prince Abubakar Audu University, Aimba. We'll return to you at some point, but let's now go back to Ajaukuta. And I believe that Dele Atumbi has moved to another polling unit, and he can now bring us updates from his new location. Dele, what can you tell us?
I'm now at the center of the town, and we are in polling unit 009. And let me equally recall the fact that the number of PVCs collected in Ajaukuta local government alone is 91,188. So in this local government, we expect 91,188 voters to come out. And in polling unit 009, we have 7 polling units here. And that is why you can see the crowd of voters that are here to cast their ballots. And I have one of the agents that will equally speak with us. Just here alone, in one of the polling units here, 750 people are expected to vote. And from what we gathered when we came over to this place, we were told that the exercise started at 8:30 a.m. and it has been peaceful and orderly. We equally have the police officers and others. I have one of the agents with me, who is the agent of the SDP. What has been your assessment of the voting since the exercise started?
The election here is free and unfair elections. There is no fight, no problems. We are going smoothly.
It's okay. Is that the position of other agents here?
There is another agent, and every polling unit here have agents.
And what has your assessment of it? Is it orderly? Is it peaceful?
It's peaceful. Election here is peaceful. No fight, no violence, nothing. We are going smoothly. So we are happy the way this 2023 election is going smoothly.
Well, that was one of the agents of a political party, SDP precisely, and everything is going on smoothly. And you know, under the law, that the agent of a political party is the eye of the candidate in each of the polling units that they represent. And that has always been the position of the law. They are the eye. And with what he has said, he has told us that the election has been peaceful and orderly since the exercise started.
Thank you very much, Dele Atumbi. And we'll still come back at some point to get more updates. By then you would have moved to another location, but we'll keep up with you. From Kogi, we move back to Imo State, and then we'll go straight to our studios in Owerri, where Professor Valin Obinna has been. And Prof, we're back to you now. Thanks for staying with us. Professor Valin Obinna is a public policy analyst, and he joins us from Owerri. Prof, you've seen those reports, and you've heard from our correspondents. At this point in time, what are you thinking?
I've had a lot of advantages monitoring from here, going around the country,
in those 3 locations. So it's an interesting scenario, and the reports are very encouraging. And my hope and prayer is that where we have reports that they have been smooth, they have been peaceful and orderly, at the end of the day we should continue to hear such. By the time we are having movement of those materials after elections, after the voting, where we have the real problem of collation and the final. So this is the process we have seen so far, even though from Imo State we have only possibly seen 2 areas or so. But I think generally it is the same report of peace and order, and we are looking forward to that. I really wish that we'll have more reports of arrivals, especially from Owerri area. We have not quite seen Owerri, where we have the headquarters. So, but I want to assume that since we have seen from outside, the Okigwe area and part of Ikeduru, the 27 local governments will eventually show us what is going on. So it is an interesting situation that is developing, and it's an opportunity, as we said, for INEC to get it right with all the security arrangement and involvement. Just like some of the discussants have said, we should arrive at a situation where it will not look like we're in Gaza or where Ukraine and Russia are fighting, so that we know it's an election. We wouldn't have too much militarization. But for now, yes, as we are learning and climbing the ropes, we are still trying to get it right. So I believe that is a process, and the processing is there. I want to latch on to something the discussant said about Kogi State, maybe referring to Imo State and Bayelsa, not quite as sensitive as that. No, Imo State has a lot at stake. We have a lot of the contenders, the contestants have various things they're presenting, their package, and we have the same situation of the personality identification and identity, and we have zonal coloration, where we have a lot of things to discuss about the 3 zones of Owerri, Okigwe, and Olo in terms of how long one zone has occupied it and what exactly should happen. And we now hear of Charter of Equity, which is being defined in different ways. But we want to allow what is going on today to take its course, where people will decide whatever they think, how they want it to be. Anything the people decide in terms of whatever they are deciding, then it should be from the franchise. I want to say it clearly that the decision is democratic in the sense of allowing the people to decide, because there has been a lot of suspicion. Even many of the political parties here were clamoring that the REC should be redeployed and all that. But thank God we have about 9 of them who have supported, since it's off cycle. We have the blessing of having more of the RECs, the resident electoral commissioners, coming to support what is happening. So it's not one person, so that we wouldn't say it is just one person that decided it, even though, yes, we know that it's not just the person at the helm of affairs who will decide it, but the influence is there. If there's any level of suspicion, it gives rise to that kind of thinking. But we don't want to interpret anything. Since we have the opportunity of having the military contributing and not getting involved directly at the polling centers, we have heard that they are maintaining the balance on the road and on the streets, and then people are being encouraged. We hope that nothing untoward will happen at the polling centers. This is where it is. But at the end of the day, let us see the free approach we're looking at now, the peace. Let us hope that when we are getting closer and closer to the real thing, the collation and the announcement, that the same sense of being free and fair and transparent will have the same reports. This is where it is an issue, where people have talked about the electronic transmission as the do-all and the be-all, which of course is still a human thing. You know, when you talk about electronic, it can also be manipulated. But we want the manual and the electronic to be working hand in hand so that in future it will look fairer and freer and more transparent. So we are hoping and praying that as we have more reports from different areas, we shall see the real outcome of democracy at work here. This is our thinking and prayer.
Thank you so much, Prof. We are moving to another location now, and Chuma is returning to us, where he will have some more updates for us at this point.
Hello, we are here at Township School, Umuelemai, in Isialambano local government area of Imo State. As we have confirmed from the presiding officer, voting started here at exactly 8:30. And a reasonable number of voters, accredited voters, have already cast their vote. Let us meet some of them who are here to tell us their feelings. Please, you can come. Please come up, do come up. When did you cast your vote and how do you feel about it? Were you constrained in any manner? Speak aloud.
I cast my vote peacefully without any problem.
Okay, you cast your vote peacefully without any problem.
Yeah.
And from your assessment of the whole, is this your first time of voting?
No, my second time. This
is your second time of voting?
Yeah.
How would you compare the first experience and this?
Okay, my first experience was peacefully, and this one also peacefully. I was even expecting that maybe there would be problem, but thank God for everything that it went peacefully without any problem here.
Okay, you expected there would be a problem, and thank God there is no problem.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Hello, sir, please, can we speak with you? Please, may we meet you? Tell us how you feel about this exercise. Have you cast your vote? Look at the camera.
Yeah, I've done mine.
You've done yours?
Yes.
Okay. Any challenge? Did you encounter any challenge
There's no challenge.
while on your way to this place and here?
No, I live very close, and here is peaceful.
Yeah, it's very peaceful.
Very peaceful. It's an urban settlement.
Okay.
The indigenous are here, the strangers are here, and we are doing this peacefully.
Okay.
Everybody goes to cast the vote wherever he or she wants.
Okay.
There's no intimidation.
No intimidation.
No intimidation.
Okay.
No harassment.
Even the presence of the security, no intimidation, nothing.
No, we're happy to see to witness the presence of the security, but they are calm. There is no problem, so they are still calm.
They are calm.
And we are not anticipating any.
Yes. Thank you very much, sir.
Name.
Thank you.
Name.
Your name?
My name is Comrade Edmond Chibuza.
Comrade
Edmond.
Chibuza. Okay, sir. Yes. Thank you very much for your time. Hello, sir, please. May we speak with you? So you came as early as
as early as 8 o'clock.
8 o'clock.
Yes, I was
by
here
8:30 you had already cast your
Before
vote.
8, I had cast my vote.
Okay, sir. Can you tell us your feelings about this exercise?
The exercise, first and foremost, is very peaceful. At least you have observed it.
Yes.
It's going smoothly, no quarrel, no fear of anything or intimidation.
Okay. Then what advice would you have to give to those that are yet to turn up?
No, they are not those who are not here yet. I pray that they will come, because part of the problem was the initial problem was that there's security problem. You can see there is no security problem.
Yes.
So I'm praying that those who have not cast their vote here will cast their vote peacefully and go home. All right, or guide their vote until they are able to make sure that their vote has gone the way they want it. And then at the end of the day, for us, for me in particular, I am here as the head of this women to make sure there is no security breach.
Okay.
I'm a voter. You don't ask me who I voted for. But I am here to make sure in my community there is no security breach. And I have made sure everybody here is peaceful. My duty here is to make sure everybody is peaceful here. And they are doing that. You can see for yourself. They are peaceful.
Are you envisaging any increase in turnout?
Yes, of course they will. Now, if people go back, they will tell their story that everything is going well. There is no security fear problem. They will come out to come and vote. We are here up till 2:30.
What do you say about, I can't see enough female folks around?
No, many of them have voted and part of it is because of the fear.
The women?
That's why you did not see a lot of them here. Because of the fear that there will be security
But some have come and they voted.
Many people have come and voted and come
and left. Okay.
We give them, I make sure they have a priority and go back home.
Thank you for your contribution.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
No.
Yes, we have a fiscally challenged here with us, but like he's shying away. Come, please, come. Come. Okay. The fiscally challenged is here with us. How do you feel?
I feel good.
Okay.
I feel good.
You made out time to be here.
Yeah. Make that time to be here.
Okay.
8 o'clock, 8:30 a.m. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. That's the way we are here, and we'll keep you posted of further developments in this area. Thank you very much.
Right. Thank you, Chuma Wankwere. Thanks for the update, and we'll keep up with you at some point for more updates. Back here in the studio, let me introduce another guest who's joined us. Mufuliat Fijabi is Executive Director, Sustainable Gender Action Initiative, and a CDD analyst. Mufuliat Fijabi, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Good morning, Nigerians.
I like to assume that you've followed proceedings so far since the start of our broadcast today, and since the elections all kicked off in the 3 states of Bayelsa, Imo, and Kogi. So at some point, we'll come back and ask you what your impressions are so far on everything.
We're going to resist it with the blood.
The plainclothes the men that were wearing police uniform that you talked about earlier, we heard the gunshots earlier, the security agencies had to ward off. What happened to them? Were they arrested? Where are they right now?
Well, because I was not here, I wouldn't know where they had taken them to, but I know they were apprehended by the real police officers who are on duty. And we shouldn't encourage this. This is one of the reasons why we have insecurity in Imo State. When you hire these people to come and rig election for you and you can't pay them, they will not go back. They will remain here and they will start causing havoc and mayhem for the people. A society we expect. A very responsible government administration should not encourage insecurity. But what we are seeing today is a government-induced insecurity.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Excellency.
Well, you just heard the PDP governorship candidate in Imo, Sam Ayawu, giving his impressions about what has happened and what's going on and how he feels about the exercise in Imo. That's from his own polling unit and from his point of view. Sam Ayawu, the PDP governorship candidate, they are engaging journalists right at the polling unit to make his views known on the elections in Imo. Back here, we just introduced Mufuliat Fijabi, Executive Director, Sustainable Gender Action Initiative. And so far, what are your impressions on these 3 elections in Bayelsa, Imo, and Kogi?
I think the starting now, it's okay. There's remarkable progress in how the conduct of the election is going peacefully. Although there are 1 or 2 complaints, but it's too early to start giving a judgment or an assessment overall. But I think it has started on a good footing, and we hope that it continues in a very orderly and peaceful manner till the end of the voting today.
Well, if you've been monitoring attendance at the 3 states, how would you describe gender participation so far in this exercise?
So far, it's not showing any much difference in terms of the turnout of female voters. And I wouldn't want to be quick in making a final judgment, but I'll be very impressed if the turnout gets better, because a lot has gone into the preparations for these 3 elections. And I know that in previous elections, if the atmosphere is charged, it also impacts on how the turnout of women would be on the actual election day. So oftentimes, in a charged environment, in terms of the reporting, in terms of the policing, security issues and all of that, women would want to take precautions, and not want to risk their lives, to go out to vote on election day. A lot has also gone into encouraging and giving confidence to the female populace, to go out and demonstrate their franchise. So we're hopeful that there will be remarkable progress in how they turn out, hoping that those confidence building intervention works out well. But overall, I would say that it's not unusual to record low female participation in elections, because women are often careful and wouldn't want to risk their lives, in the name of coming out to vote on election. And this has a lot to do in the kind of democracy we practice. If you notice, the presence of female candidates in the election is not encouraging as well. So if we also don't have women come out on election day, it's not speaking well of our democracy, because that means that we're driving towards a democratic process that is not inclusive of participation of women, especially those who have deep interest in adding their voices and value through their votes to the candidates that eventually emerges as the governor of those 3 states.
Okay, thank you so much. Well, let's get back to Kogi State. And a few moments ago, we saw on a portion of your screen situation in parts of Kogi. But Jonathan Omajali, we're returning to him now to further give us more updates on proceedings there. Yes, Jonathan, go ahead. What's new this time?
Okay, of course, this is polling unit 041 Magistrate Court in Ajaokuta local government area. Here we have 750 registered voters. From the information I gathered, accreditation and voting started at 8:30. So far, it's been a smooth and seamless process. But I have here 2 party agents who want to share their thoughts with us on what the observations have been. Can you come forward, please? Tell us your name and the party you are representing.
I'm Issa by name.
Okay, look to the camera.
I'm representing SDP agent by Magistrate Court.
Okay.
Open field Magistrate Court.
All right.
We started the election 8:30, and the election is going on smoothly without any interaction. Inshallah, by the special grace of God, we are progressing towards the. Although we are moving.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So you are impressed with what you've seen so far?
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you. I have that of APC too. Tell us your name and your observations.
My name is Ibrahim Nuruddin, APC agent. The elections, the INEC come 8:30 this morning, and we are progressing. The election is peaceful. There's no problem. There's no fight. There's nothing. We are progressing. There's no problem. Everybody, the INEC, they are working smoothly. People, they are compromising. You understand? There's nothing like problems in the 041's Magistrate Court open face. Well, we don't have problem.
Okay.
Thank you, everybody.
All right.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you so much. You heard him. They are impressed with what is happening here. Just to add very quickly, the turnout has been very, very impressive. In all the polling units we've visited so far, large turnout, and of course it's been very peaceful. We hope it will continue like this till the end of the elections today.
Right. Thank you, Jonathan. Back to Bayelsa. Earlier today, former President Goodluck Jonathan and his wife, former First Lady Dame Patience Jonathan, cast their ballot in their hometown, Otuoke. Let's get some pictures of that and again get to know his thoughts on the elections in Bayelsa.
Nobody goes beyond this point.
But basically, because this is an off-season election, and I get worried about the issue of off-season election. And I will use this unique opportunity to plead with the National Assembly that we need to block this off-season election. It's very odd, it's not a global best practice. A country can have, can elect their people at different times like America. Not elect everybody at the same time. So, but any time they go on to conduct the election, they elect everybody that's supposed to. If we continue with this trend of off-season elections based on the interpretation of our laws by the judicial officer, we'll come to a time the presidential election will be off-season. Probably that is the time that all of you media people and others should be worried. Look at the American election. Everybody knows when the American election is. That's standard.
Are you serious?
When I say presidential election in Nigeria may be off-season one day, some people may get sick. Why? How? It almost happened in 2007. I confess it as a running meeting. President Yaradua. You know that election, the 7 justices that presided over the case, 3 of them, with their own judgment that the election will be annulled. 4 of them sustained. And that is why this case, if one has crossed over, by now the presidential election will be called an off-season election. And it's not a test. And there's easy things to make sure that other states, now we have 7 states with an off-season. We need to stop there. Where possible, these 7 states too can be migrated back to fall in line. Other states and the National Assembly can do that. That is my message for the National Assembly, my message for Nigerians today. On the other hand, I wish the election successful. I've been monitoring what is happening in Bayelsa State. Almost ask people across the local governments. And for now, no major things that we will get worried, apart from the part of Nembe local government, the Basambri part of Nembe local government that had been in conflict for quite some time before the election. Apart from that, I think that the election is going on well, but we cannot conclude until the end of the
former President Goodluck Jonathan on the conduct of the election just after casting his vote in Otuoke. Now let's bring you this report. This one is coming from Owerri, where officers and materials were very much present, but there were hardly any voters to take part in the process.
This is another polling unit in Owerri, polling unit 009. Right now, the INEC ad hoc staff are also ready here, but the people are here to come out to cast their ballot. But we have party agents here, political party agents here, and even observers, election observers, they are here, all waiting for the people to come and cast their ballots. May we meet you? May we know your name?
Good morning. My name is Naji Anthony.
Okay, tell us who you are.
My name is Naji Anthony. I'm here as a party agent representing PDP.
Okay, how far so far?
Okay, this morning we just finished inspecting the materials. Still expecting the voters to come.
Okay, so what do you feel? What do you think? They are here to come. What do you think?
Yes, I believe they will come. This is about 8:40 something or thereabout. Hopefully, any moment from now, even people living in the compound, they will come. So we are expecting them.
Okay. Let's also meet another party agent. May we also meet you, sir? You are here and people are yet to come. What do you think? Which party are you representing?
All right, to start with, my name is Amusa Dochko. I'm standing for APC.
Okay, what do you think about the fact that people are yet to come out?
Well, we are very, very much optimistic that people will still come out. This is just some minutes past the hour of voting starting time. So we believe people will still come. There's still time.
Thank you. Yeah. It's back to you in the studio.
Right, thank you very much. And now to Kogi, the Accord Party governorship candidate, Vice Admiral Jibril Usman, cast his ballot at his country home, Okura, in Dekina local government area. He commended the conduct of the exercise in the area. Correspondent Ayodele Ibigwemi has the report.
This is polling 001, Okura Lafia Market Square, where we have 750 registered voters according to INEC list. Among who is here is the Accord Party governorship candidate, Vice Admiral Jibril Usman, retired. Sir, can you tell us the situation of the exercise here in your area?
In this polling unit, I think the turnout is massive, with 750 electoral voters. I think you can see that a lot of people are massively voting. This is my village, and for now, everything seems to be very peaceful. And I pray that it remains peaceful, and then praise INEC at the end of the day.
Thank you very much. Thank you. As we've rightly heard from the governorship candidates, the place is calm, beavers are working perfectly, the security personnel are here to ensure law and order, and electorates are out to exercise their franchise to decide who governs them the next 4 years. That is it for now. We'll get back to you in the studio.
All right, thanks. And on the right of your screen there, we can see Kingsley, who is up at another location in Yenagoa, and he's going to give us updates. Kingsley, what's new?
We are at Ovom. Ovom is in Ward 1 in Yenagoa local government area. This very ward, this is Unit 16 behind me there, and we have Unit 34. At Unit 34, they have 503 electorate that have collected their PVCs Whereas in that Unit 16, they have 701 electorate that have collected their PVC. I've observed so far the elderly, the youth, the young, even those who are voting for the first time come to cast their ballot at this very polling center. Of course, right there are observers from the Federal Ministry of Interior. We have security men all on ground to monitor the process. As we continue to traverse along the city of Yenagoa, we see people who are also trooping to various centers to participate in this process. I see enthusiasm among the residents of Yenagoa. They are very enthusiastic about this election. This election, I think to them, it means a lot to many Yenagoa residents. So far, there have not been any incidents to worry about at the moment. The process, talking about the beavers, I also have observed myself, people stand on the queue. In a split second, they are done. They cast their ballot and leave. The processes is going on smoothly at the centers we have visited so far. That is the situation in Yenagoa. The enthusiasm is high among the populace here.
All right. Thank you very much, Kingsley Amajiri. Well, as you say yourself, from what you've observed, things are going on smoothly. We also have the pictures of the ADC candidate in Kogi who cast his ballot, and then we'll just take that right now.
The process is going smoothly. Judging by my own polling unit here, the INEC is perfect in terms of organization, arrangement, and material delivery. We hope the way it's going smoothly here, it will be the same across the whole 3,500 polling units. The turnout is impressive. I don't know for other areas, but in these our wards, the turnout is above 50%, as you can see. And I believe it's going to be so across the state. People are serious to change.
Sorry about that frozen picture there, where the ADC candidate in the Kogi governorship election was making his comment there. Let's go over now to back to Imo State, and Chibike Chukwu is standing by with more updates for us.
Hello? Okay, we are exactly area of Imo State. You can see that both voting and accreditation are going on smoothly. Honestly, at the booth here, the voters are fired out to cast their votes, and this environment is quite peaceful. The people are eager to vote. But one thing that happened here is that the voters are not coming out as expected. Instead of coming to cast their votes, they are seen in various shops and beer parlors drinking. And if the situation remains like this, the process may end quite before time, because if the INEC officials are not see voters to attend to, it's time to end the process quite on time. The security situation here is quite tight. Security agencies are all over the place patrolling, so the people are not deterred by security threats. But we could not establish what is the problem of them not coming out now to come and cast their votes.
Thank you very much, Chibike. Thanks for that update and interesting scenario. The officials are waiting. The people are uninterested. They're at recreation spots, having their fun. No one will be part of what's going on in the elections. Anyhow, Yeri, it's been a little bit quiet at your end at the other studio, so let's have you come on at this point in time. Yeri.
Thanks, Cyril. Very interesting listening to colleagues on the field and giving us an update of what is happening in the 3 states where election is happening today. All right, it's about time to sign off. My guests here, they've been with us since 7 a.m. when the studio opened. Just before you go, your last thoughts on this election, Ibrahim Modibo, quickly.
Yeah, thank you very much, Madam Nairi. You see, what I had wanted to say is to appreciate the fact that democracy is in action. Let us have a free, fair, and credible elections, and also let us have elections that are devoid of rancor, devoid of violence. The security people are doing a wonderful job. INEC is also trying to put structures, but unfortunately, in some of these states, I've not been seeing people coming out a lot, but there's still time. And I'm very hopeful that the elections will be done where a governor will emerge, where the political system will progress, and also where good governance will also prevail. However, on the last note, I'm very optimistic. Right from the word go, I say I'm an incurable optimist that we'll have free, fair elections in the 3 states and also a popular government of the people, for the people, and by the people will emerge.
Right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ibrahim Modibo. Now, Nick Dezang. Your final thoughts, please.
Well, what we've seen shows low turnout, particularly in Imo and Bayelsa. In Imo, for very obvious reasons, security challenges, people are a bit fearful. But the few that have come out have said the environment for the conduct of the elections is peaceful. And we hope that, given the fact that voting will continue until 2:30 officially, those who have voted and gone back home will tell positive stories to others, and that will encourage them to come out and vote. For Kogi, I think the turnout has been all right. And we had observed earlier on that the identity politics in that state is likely to drive voters to come out. And thankfully, in spite of the fact that there are also fears of insecurity, the conduct of the election there is very peaceful, and people are turning up in large numbers to vote.
All right, thank you so much, Ibrahim Modibo, Public Affairs Analyst. Thank you for joining us. And the former Director of Voter Education and Publicity, INEC, Nick Dezang. Many thanks. Always nice to have you. All right, the off-cycle election in Bayelsa, Imo, and Kogi, of course, talking about the live coverage here on the network service of the NTA continues. But this team is done. Benny Adams takes it up from here in this particular studio. And then, of course, at this point, I will hand over to Cyril. I'm Ian Ray John. Please remain tuned to the Nigerian Television Authority.
Right, thank you very much, Henry. Yeah, possibly you two need to catch your breath and take a break from there. But back here in this studio, we have Atiku Abubakar Isa, the public affairs analyst, has been with us for some time too. So we'd like to get your final thoughts for you. Take a break as well.
Yes, you can see the sharp contrast between what is happening in Imo State and that of Kogi State, which is, to me, it is expected. Because of the security situation in Imo State, people have been apprehensive, and though with the assurances given by the security agencies, they are still watching. We hope that a good number of them will come out to cast their votes for the candidates of their choice. And in Kogi State, we hope and pray that it continues very peacefully the way it is going on, so that a popular governor will be elected for the good people of Kogi State.
All right. Thank you very much. Atiku Abubakar Isa, a public affairs analyst. Thank
you very much for having me.
Right, and so I'm about to take a breather myself. I'll just step aside for a few moments and take a break. And here's introducing, who will be coming on shortly, Claire Adilabu Abdul Razak, who will be sitting in and will continue with the coverage of the elections in Bayelsa, Imo, and Kogi states. So I'll see you around at some point in time. But we'll take a short break, and when we return, Claire will be sitting in. Thank you.